What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Connor, here on this week's edition of the Marvel Roundtable right here on the Horny Goat YouTube channel, the Horny Goat Podcast Network. We are taking a look at Taika Watiti's directorial debut in the MCU as he takes the mighty God of Thunder in a different direction. Plus, we see a Hulk-size reunion as we explore a different side of things as Thor's portrayed in quite possibly the most radical change in any of the Marvel characters in the MCU so far. Let's break down and see how this movie holds up as we explore Thor Ragnarok right here on the Marvel Roundtable. What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Connor, here. Welcome back to the Horny Goat YouTube channel, of course, the Horny Goat Podcasting Network. And it's Monday, so you know what that means. This is the Marvel Roundtable, the show where we go and deep dive each and every single week into every show and movie in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You guys know me, I am Connor, but of course, I am not alone. I am joined with me by the wonderful members of the Horny Goat crew. I got the tattooed mama herself, Heather. What's up, Heather?
Not much. I'm really looking forward to this because, as I tweeted out as Francis on the Horny Goat, we're finally back to the good movies of the MCU.
They come in waves. They come in waves. We got everyone's favorite bear from upstairs, Canadian Basement.
Also come in waves.
Was that the thing you were waiting to immediately say about this?
No, you called him Taco Watiti.
Taco Watiti?
He's got the best fucking name in the world.
He really does.
Taika.
I love how
it's pronounced Taika, right? Or is it Taco?
No, I thought you said Taka, which I could be wrong too. I think it's Taika. I think you're right. It's Taika Watiti. I think I could be wrong. I'm sure the chat's gonna let us know. And of course,
he's got a great name.
He does, and he's a great director. And of course, Monsieur Bobbit. What's up, Bobbit?
Pretty good, man. After this weekend, I am not a furniture mover. Fuck that shit.
No, that's a fucking shitty thing to do.
That is the worst. I mean, like you wish that upon your worst enemies and your desperate friends.
Yep.
But
I've learned to never ask.
You've learned to ask, not to. Yeah.
No, I've done. I only asked my family. I didn't ask friends because I knew it was like a deal breaker.
Oh, there you go.
God, yeah, I felt so bad for JP's sisters and brother-in-laws because we asked them to move our big furniture. And it's just like, oh, God.
Do you have any of that old fucking 1 trillion pound furniture?
Fortunately, no. The heaviest thing we had to move was our bed. So
it was always like old, like grandparent-esque furniture that you can't wrap your head around the physics of why it's that heavy. Like there's no, unless it's like made some sort of like quartz zinc marble in the inside core. Like I don't understand how this could be that fucking heavy.
How did you cut down a tree and make it heavier? For fuck's sakes. It's that old, and you know, the wooden fucking antique with that super uncomfortable, like stapled in or whatever the fuck they did. That ugly ass furniture that feels like shit when you sit on, that weighs 1 trillion pounds.
Yes.
Fuck that shit.
Oh my God. But anywho, back into the matter of hand, it is the Marvel Roundtable, and this week we've got ourselves a doozy. So if you guys missed out, obviously you guys can go back and check the playlist and check us out on your favorite podcasting platforms. Of course, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and so many others we can download and listen to us in your favorite podcasting platforms. We have kind of went a little different as far as the order. We've been trying to do these in the order in which the movies were released, but obviously we did a little bit of a switcheroo because we did Black Panther last week, and this week we are doing Thor Ragnarok, mainly because of the end credit scene of this movie makes more sense as far as like laying things out. So for those of you who want me to do this in chronological order, you can go sit on a fucking spike because there's no way I'm doing that whatsoever. Doing this alone, you know how much I had to bribe everybody on this panel to be part of this fucking show? And how much they haven't seen
the money.
I was about to say how much they absolutely hate me because I'm still asking them to help me move my furniture. But the point is,
every day,
every fucking day. But no,
I made a
But-
voodoo doll and I stab it in the dick every day.
We've obviously been doing, we've already done phase 1, we've done phase 2. We're kind of towards the tail end of phase 3, obviously, if you're keeping track. And personally, I feel like the last couple of movies have been pretty solid overall as far as the MCU. I'm not saying they're perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like the last couple have been pretty strong contenders as far as, like, you had Guardians, you had Spider-Man, you had Black Panther. I'm not saying they were perfect, but I definitely I think Thor Ragnarok is another one that I was like, when I was looking back at the list of what was coming up, like, oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun. This is such a departure from what we've seen from Thor so far. It's almost like a completely different direction. It's like if someone, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of got, like, I know it's Taika Watiti, but I also got a lot of James Gunn flashbacks or
yeah.
vibes from this movie. Which,
Yes, I think we're all going to be on the same boat. I didn't, however, get to like put my 2 cents in for Black Panther, so I'm just going to quickly say,
you're
the movie
muted.
was overhyped.
I'm kidding.
What?
I said you haven't-
The movie was overhyped. I still think it's like an average
that's
Marvel
kind of
movie.
that's kind of what we all said. Yeah.
But it's definitely like I watched it after the hype train had hit.
Yep.
So it was obviously disappointing to me. But we're not here to talk about that movie. My 2 cents. I'm done. We're here to talk about Thor Ragnarok, which
Yeah.
I'm with you 1000%. It's Guardians of the Galaxy Ragnarok.
Yes. So what's interesting was that, like, and something that I found out with looking at the pre-production notes of this stuff is that, so when it comes to this movie, and presumably it's what comes up with, not all of them, but this one in particular, was that this is one of the rare ones where if you guys go back and watch a while back, this is way, way back, Kevin Feige did like a surprise showing at a studio or like a presentation in a theater where he basically laid out all the movies for phase 3. Now, granted, not all of them became movies, the Inhumans, which we don't talk about that, but Thor Ragnarok obviously did not have, like, just the logo itself was very different. So it looked like it was going to be another traditional Thor movie. And clearly that is not the fucking case that we got with this one. And it's interesting because a lot of people, when you go back and look at all the Thor movies, we've kind of obviously collectively looked at all the Marvel movies. The Thor movies, when you look at them, at least in our opinion, I don't want to speak on anyone else's behalf, were pretty solid movies. Dark World in particular, even though it gets a lot of fucking hate online, which I'll be the first to now defend and be like, you should probably rewatch it. It's not as bad as you may remember it to be. And people like, oh, the best Thor movie is Ragnarok. I think it's definitely a different taste, but we'll get into the specifics in just a second. But I guess before we get into the whole thick of things, I do want to, of course, thank everyone in the wonderful chat for joining us. We do have, of course, Alpha Cody. Congrats, Cody, on the weight loss. I did see that on the in the chat. So muchas gracias, or much congratulations to you, sir. Jurgen Million. We've also got Tim Federico, and I do believe, is that you, Heather, or is that JP sneaking in his Cold Bone show?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay. I can do all that's identity theft. That is identity theft.
Password then.
Well, fair enough. Well, welcome all, and I appreciate all popping in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are about the movie as we progress through. And of course, hit that poll, hit that thumbs up if you do like these Marvel roundtables, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So I'm just going to go around real quick to Heather Basement Bobbit. Again, without going too much in detail, general thoughts on Thor Ragnarok. I'll start with the tattooed mama, Heather. What did you think of this movie, just generally speaking?
Well, considering this is the only movie within all of the Marvel universe that I have watched more than 3 times,
That says something.
it says something. I
Yep.
mean, yes,
You
there
hated
are
it.
others that I've watched twice. There's others that I've watched 3 times for this show in general. But I genuinely enjoyed this movie because it's a step up from where Black Panther was. And it's also, again, a different take on the same character. So it's not keeping everything the same throughout the entire franchise of just this character. Every movie, it's something different with Thor.
Yep.
Thor is different in every single one. So it's just like, for me, Thor, I feel, is one of the best Marvel characters.
Breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
That's Heather's catchphrase on this show. In case you guys haven't picked up on that. Monsieur Basement, what did you think of? Again, general thoughts on Thor Ragnarok.
I mean, it's. I think that the thing too is like it's a tonal shift, not only from the other Thors, but also from Black Panther. 'Cause Black Panther is like grounded in a more serious subject matter.
Right.
This is just fucking.
Balls to the wall.
They have not. They gave up. They're like, we're gonna make a fun movie. Eat my ass.
Well,
And that was that.
remember here though, just and this is the part I just want to stress. Cinematically, this came out before Black Panther.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, if it like that, this is also why I think I don't. This is also why I don't like Black Panther as much. Because this is a better movie than Black Panther, and what follows Black Panther is a better movie than Black Panther. So the love that Black Panther got, I mean, personally, there's a lot of politics going on there,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
which hurts the film. Because
representation of Black Panther.
It's not a bad film. It's just not a great film either. When it comes to Thor Ragnarok, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I like multiple things about this movie, and we'll get into them as we go. The one thing I will say, and you've said it already, is that it does feel like a Guardians movie without any of the Guardians.
Yep.
And I have to say this now because I'll probably forget later. It balances very well in terms of like progressing the storyline, adding enough the humor that they want, and progressing certain characters. Yes, there's certain characters that have like slight changes in this movie. It's still you can't not watch it and keep watching the Marvel Universe is what I'm going to say.
You know what I find very interesting is, and I'll elaborate more. And there's plenty of moments and stuff that we're gonna make comparisons with Taika Watiti and James Gunn.
They are
like,
different.
They are. But what's ironic is the fact that in the next movie, those two team up. Specifically, those two team up. So I just find that very like.
I also want to say this too before I go. Before I stop talking. Thor Ragnarok, after watching this again for the second time, has given me hope for the next Thor movie that I had lost.
Right. Yeah. And so, for those of you who aren't aware, at the time of this recording of this episode, Taika Watiti has been confirmed. He's reprising his role as the director for the fourth Thor movie entitled Thor Love and Thunder, which comes out in about a month from now. Again, at the time of we're recording this episode. And so far, only a trailer's been released. We can do so much more discussion about that. But yeah, Taika is taking the helm of that one for the fourth Thor movie, which, man, I could go on forever about speculation about that, but we'll save that for when we get there, because God knows we got enough more to go through.
We did talk about it before, but I will say it's shone a glimmer of hope upon that movie that I didn't have after watching some of the trailers.
Because you rewatched this?
It's just like because I rewatched this and I see where Marvel goes with a lot of female characters. But it's obviously not the same director, and we'll talk on that. But
All
Bobbit, come on, baby.
Fuck.
Oh God, what are you doing?
Fair statement.
No, I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. Like, there's a lot of little moments I loved about this film that we'll talk about throughout this review. It's just a fun, good time. Like, holy shit, it's fucking hilarious. And yeah, Black Panther doesn't hold a candle to this.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, I feel like it's a little bit of I'm not disagreeing with anybody's comparison to Black Panther, but it's kind of it's a little unfair.
Yeah, well, you need to have those movies to have these movies.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like you have to have certain, like Captain America is more grounded in like a realistic scenario. You need to have that groundedness in some movies to make way for these movies. If they're all like this, we wouldn't have an MCU.
Right.
I'm just saying that we would not. But you kind of have to, like, especially after Dark World. you kind of have to like. I think because they knew that the audience didn't really take to it, even though I think it's like we said better than what everyone thought at the time. They were like, man, we got to do something with this character that's a bit more than just the serious shit.
Right. And what's interesting is looking through the pre-production notes. I'm going to try and skim it because there's a lot, obviously, because it's a very different. Of course, they announced that, Thor Ragnarok would be the title, that Kevin Feige said, don't look too much into the actual name. There's going to be more beyond just the name, because obviously when referring to Ragnarok, meaning the end of things, end of all things, there is a specific story in the comics referring to Thor Ragnarok, which is sort of lumped in. This is actually another one of those interesting things where a lot of people, and I'm going to go off a little bit of a tangent here. A lot of people compare Dark Knight Rises to several different versions of, or different stories of Batman mixed into one. And it's funny because Thor Ragnarok is kind of the same way, with different elements of different stories being mixed into one. Ragnarok, a little bit of Planet Hulk, which we'll get into, and so many other cool other things mixed in.
All I think of Ragnarok is the fucking ship from Final Fantasy VIII.
I was thinking of Fraggle Rock.
Well, that's just so juvenile of you. I'm joking.
I think you lose the right to be surprised with me anymore. But my point is that, like, this is not the first, nor will it be the last time that the MCU, as great and loyal as they can be to source material, they have known to go off on the divergences or their own versions of something. And I gotta say, most of the time it works. Most of the time it works.
More often than not, to be honest.
Yeah, I was trying to think of ones that really didn't. And of course, we'll talk more about this when we get to Shang-Chi specifically, that I can think of off the top of my head. But the point is, this is the case here. And as far as, the back and forth, it's actually interesting because the director for Dark World, Alan Taylor, explained he would not be returning to do the third Thor movie because, quote, the Marvel experience was particularly wrenching because I was sort of given absolute freedom while we were shooting, and then in post-production it turned into a different movie. So that is something I hope to never repeat and don't wish upon anyone else, which is very interesting because when Taika Watiti opened negotiations to do Thor Ragnarok, they did something kind of different as far as who they wanted to, with different prospective directors to take over this franchise. They had everyone do like a sizzle reel and like to give an idea.
Sizzle reel.
Like a cut of different like movies in terms of getting like a tone of how they want the movie to be. It was almost, as far as I know, they've not done with any of the other movies. And Taika Watiti had like a sizzle reel that had clips from other films, including Big Trouble in Little China. And despite being a discouraged practice within the company, Marvel considered Watiti's reel to be amazing, particularly its use of Led Zeppelin's infamous movie Immigrant Song, which they used not only for the score, but in the movie and also the trailers that we saw, which I thought was a beautiful hit. And again, kind of flushed out that tone. Feige said it defined what Taika was going to do with this. And Taika said on why he wanted to pursue directing the film for himself. He said he had no interest in big features where the art of the project was sacrificed for profit, but Waititi said he felt like a guest in Marvel's universe, but with the creative freedom to do what I want. And it's very interesting that, like,
some directors get it and some directors don't for some reason.
Basically, and not only that, but
I think like the care for Thor might have fallen off after the last movie, which I think was just not like accepted the way they wanted it to be. It was more like, we're not going to be so hands-on with this because obviously the last one we fucked up a little, even though in my mind they didn't, but they did.
Yeah. Now, as far as Hulk getting involved with the Thor movie, which I'll be honest with you, I think that was the only misstep in terms of the marketing. They should have never showed Hulk in the trailer.
I agree 1000%. I was thinking that the entire time. I even wrote that. I'm gonna fucking read my 1,000-page sheet.
I was thinking about it because I did go back and watch the trailer. Which, by the way, I also think this is one of the first times that Marvel fucked with us when it comes to the trailers. And the reason I bring this up is because now we're at a point with the MCU where the MCU is like the snowball's rolling and like it's now getting big main like the MCU was a thing. Now it's really starting to become a thing. And the reason I bring this up is because in the original Thor Ragnarok trailer, if you go back and look, he has both of his eyes at the scene where he's fighting on the Rainbow Bridge, which we'll get into in a minute. I say Rainbow Bridge, you know what I'm talking about.
It was the post CGI edit.
Right. And this is not the last time that Marvel will do this in terms of doing things to kind of manipulate a trailer or just flat out do scenes that do not have characters in the trailer whatsoever to be a little misleading. We'll talk about that next week.
1000% prefer that. I'm just gonna say.
What?
Like I hate the new trailers that give away the whole movie.
Yes.
I hate him.
no,
And they've been going on for
agree.
about 10 years now, but I fucking hate that shit.
I just
or
thought
they
it was
sell you a
interesting.
movie that's not the actual movie at all.
Right. I wanted to bring that up because I think this was the first one where people were like, if you look at the trailer, this was in it. It was and this was incorrect. And I mean, granted, this isn't the first time movies in general have done this, but like they've done it to cover up specific plot points. They do it in Infinity War, Spider-Man No Way Home. They'll do it as well. There's a lot of instances like that. So just a fun little tidbit. But
they do it in video games too. Last of Us 2.
Yes.
Yeah, no shit. But also again, in my opinion, should never have showed the Hulk whatsoever in the trailer. It would have made the moment that much more epic.
Yep.
They've shown him in the arena first with that worried look and the shaking of the camera from when Hulk was banging on the door and just
Perfect.
left it at that. Would have been great.
Or even
Perfect.
the yes.
Yeah.
You know what I actually think movies should do? I think they should have a trailer for new releases that have, and once you hit like that 3-week mark or that month mark, have another trailer that comes out that shows a bit more of the movie to get maybe people that didn't watch it enticed to see it.
Well, they used to do that.
And at that point in time, you'll probably hear about it anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. So it does depend, but of course, when all this was being finalized, of course, Ruffalo was also finalizing a deal to reprise his role as Bruce Banner Hulk from previous MCU films, which was confirmed shortly after. Hulk was, of course, last seen at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron traveling through the Quinjet, which was originally planned to be shown flying near Saturn. Feige explained that this was changed to an Earth-based location to leave Hulk's fate ambiguous and dispel rumors that a film based on Planet Hulk was in development since Marvel Studios had no plan to adapt the storyline at the time. According to the executive producer, the idea was to include Hulk and Ragnarok came early on development when the production team looked at the Planet Hulk storyline and felt it was like a no-brainer to integrate Hulk into the Thor franchise, exploring the idea of a planet where there's gladiatorial games as Thor predicament. That storyline was a really cool idea to us. Feige further explained that the initial discussions had focused on doing something totally different with Thor, and that centered on continuing the relationship with Loki and ideas for Hela, Valkyrie, Balder, and Beta Ray Bill, but we're like, we need something big. And of course, this turned into discussing Thor going to space and jokingly calling it Planet Thor, which led to including the Hulk in the film and revealing that he ultimately went to space at the end of Age of Ultron. So there was always plans, roughly, to include Hulk in this movie in some way. It's just ironic that they were like, oh, we're definitely not doing Planet Hulk. And then we get something kind of like it, like a lighter version. So just funny how things sometimes work out like that.
This, in my opinion, is the way the Hulk needs to be used to flesh out his character. He has to be second fiddle to something else happening in the Marvel Universe because otherwise he's just smashed. This gives him a bit more depth. My question, though, I can't remember exactly. When he went to space, was he the Hulk?
Yes.
After his depiction in this movie, how the fuck does he know how to use the fucking Quinjet?
He doesn't.
Well, he did. Because he took off and flew. Or was it autopilot? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was on autopilot. I think he
If you looked at that scene from
I can't remember.
the last Avengers movie, he was just sitting there in the jet.
Yeah.
He wasn't touching anything. He was just in the sitting up fetal position.
Yep.
And as we know from this
Crocheting.
movie, like that's like a kind of like a dumping planet, basically. Like everywhere leads to this shithole.
I mean,
whatever.
devil's anus. We'll get there. So,
Oh my god.
but that being said, let's get into the actual movie itself. So, the story opens from what we later find out, is about 2 years after the events of Age of Ultron, Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, having failed in his quest to locate the Infinity Stones and having also been dumped by Jane, although he insists it was a mutual dumping, is hanging in chains above a fire pit before he... What?
Nothing.
Is hanging in chains above a fire pit before being brought before the monstrous fire demon Surtur. Surtur believes his destiny is to bring about Ragnarok, the complete destruction of Asgard. Thor learns from Surtur that Odin, played by Anthony Hopkins, is not on Asgard, so he uses Mjolnir to escape and destroy Surtur, keeping his crown/skull, the demon's power source, for himself. Thor then returns to Asgard and sends Surtur's skull down to the vaults, but finds that Heimdall has been replaced as a sentry, of the Bifrost Bridge by the inept Scourge, who explained that Odin accused Heimdall of treachery, and Heimdall subsequently fled, and his whereabouts are currently unknown. What was interesting was, with this movie, despite, like, if you even didn't even see the trailers or didn't see anything like that, just from the opening scene with Surtur, you knew it was going to be different. In the dialogue alone, with him like spinning in the chains, and then he's just like, oh wait, hold on a second, going around again. Just like as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is going to definitely be different. But off to a great start so far, so good for me.
Yeah, when I first saw this and those one-liners started, it's like, oh shit, they're gonna turn him into Tony Stark.
Yeah, it was a little worrying. Yeah.
That was my first initial thought with that, but then he gets to the Bifrost and he sees Skarg.
Yep.
Oh my god.
But it's interesting.
Wait, hold on, Baba. What'd you think? Because I have things to say too, but
I fucking love the beginning. Like I couldn't stop laughing when he was spinning the chains. Like, oh, hang on, there we are. Oh, that was fantastic.
I also just remembered that I can see where you got the Iron Man vibes, Heather, when he's like tries to call Mjolnir. It's like, wait, sometimes it takes a second.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get that.
It's like,
This is the beginning of everybody becoming Tony Stark. But it's not a bad thing, because this is the way exactly how Heather thought is how I thought. I can tell you right now, the first thing I wrote down was Thor has gone Guardians, and I accept it and like it. The next thing I wrote down, the jokes may carry on a bit too long. After he went around for multiple times, and then I said Suter was a punk ass bitch, and it's Butcher from the Boys.
Oh my god!
And he sounds exactly like. He didn't even try to change. He's the exact same character.
Mind blown.
You didn't get that?
Nope, I didn't. And now mind blown.
Oh yeah.
The transition for me, because at this point I had not seen The Boys, so the transition for me was, oh god, he's the general from Riddick.
Actually, I associate him with Judge Dredd in the new Dredd movie.
I think it's so much better in Judge Dredd, though.
Judge Dredd was actually a fucking good movie, man. Like the new one, really good. If anybody, I say new, it's like fucking 5 years old, but whatever.
Interesting.
It was early '90s, so.
Yeah, I've got like this is basically how I watched this movie, and I made notes, and these are my notes. And I can't really elaborate on them.
How many notes did you take?
Oh.
Anyway,
count.
Moving on. The Surtur is a bitch line. Yeah. Which to me makes the end scene so much funnier.
Mm-hmm.
When he's back in, but we'll get there.
They just do it right in this one.
They do.
Yeah. But of course, the big thing that Thor takes away is the fact that he's like, Odin is not on Asgard. So, interesting. So, Reaching Asgard, Thor sees a massive statue of Loki, Tom Hiddleston, as well as Odin lounging around enjoying a play about Loki's heroic sacrifice while fighting the Dark Elves. How can you not love a play
Everything about this.
with it? Was that Dennis Quaid in there?
Nope. It was Matt Damon.
No, I know it was. I know Matt Damon was there.
The other guy, I don't
Jack
really.
Quaid, not
Jack Quaid is from The Boys, right?
yes.
Was he in that?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I couldn't recognize. I know I've seen the actor before that's playing Thor, but I don't know where from.
Sam Neill.
I mean, no, fucking this shit blew. Okay.
Yep. Which is
This is
Alan.
This is literally what I said.
Yep.
Fucking Matt Damon, fucking Jurassic Park. In that order.
I remember Matt Damon clearly.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize Sam Neill, and I'm like, he's Odin in the play. I'm like, this is the pre-Jurassic Park reunion that we all needed and wanted so badly, right?
That's I came to that conclusion.
There's another Hemsworth. Luke Hemsworth.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
who he is. He's from fucking Westworld.
Yeah, Luke
He
Hemsworth, I
plays the
believe.
security guard in Westworld. I know who he is.
He plays the Thor in, I think it's the Thor in the play, right?
Yeah, Thor in the play.
Yep. So just fun little shit. Just love that to death. So the play was great. I also love, obviously it's Anthony Hopkins reprising his role as Odin, but I love him. It's just something about seeing him, like, knowing obviously it's Loki in disguise. Like,
You might as well take these notes and put them in your mouth.
I'm sorry. I have no notes.
Well,
here.
we all
But
watch
just-
we all watch the same movie, so
But like, I love the part, like, specifically the scene I'm liking is like the oh shit, and like just like the that like mannerism and that like
you know he studied Loki.
yes, and it's just
Yeah.
God, it just makes me love him even more as an actor. Like, you know,
Anthony Hopkins. I said Anthony Hopkins did a pretty good job as Loki. He does.
yeah. The tragic tale of Loki of Asgard, and I just it's the oh shit line of the hey Thor, oh shit, just because you don't see him like that in those types of roles. So obviously Thor quickly realizes what happens. He said he's, on his search to find the Infinity Stones, he finds that the 9 realms are in complete and total fucking chaos, and that everything's gone to shit basically. And here's Odin lounging around in his pajamas eating grapes, and he's able to pretty much quickly deduce the fact that Odin is not who he is, and in a funny way throws Mjolnir and puts his fucking brother's head in between his head, between his hand and the returning Mjolnir, to force him out of the illusion, which of course we saw at the end of Thor: The Dark World, to drop his charade and demands to know what the hell happened to Odin. It is revealed that Loki had placed Odin under a spell and dumped him in a retirement home in New York City. I also did love the little moment where Scourge was supposed to announce Thor's return, and he shows up.
I gotta run.
Just to, yeah. Your Majesties, he had one job. One job.
These girls.
Yeah. One job.
I did love the use of Mjolnir on the fucking dragon to get him in place. That was
Oh
cool.
yeah, I forgot you.
Anytime they use him as like a paperweight or the hammer as a paperweight is fucking great. What was I gonna say? Bobbit, take over. Well, I think, but what I was saying.
What was we talking about?
Why does that always,
I spaced
why does
out
that-
for a minute.
why does that always sound like you're coming out of sex?
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to. So, no, Bob, we were saying about the scene where Odin is revealed to be Loki, and the whole calamity with all that.
Oh yeah, okay. At first I was like, holy shit, because I thought Loki was dead because of what happened in Dark World. So it's nice to see him back.
Well, don't forget the end of Thor: Dark World saw that illusion.
I completely forgot about that illusion. that's That's how much I pay attention to it.
It's all good. We were just also saying like how like even though it is Anthony Hopkins playing Odin still, I love how he still keeps the mannerisms of Loki while he's still in disguise. I just thought it was very
It's
fucking
just-
funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a major threat.
Anybody else wouldn't have pulled it off as well as he does.
Well, he did a pretty good job. I mean, he blurred the lines between Anthony Hopkins as an actor and Loki as a character, and you knew he was fucked up from. Like I also forgot like the end of Dark World, but I'm like, yeah, he's fucking Loki, 100%.
Yeah.
I could tell immediately.
Oh shit.
I will say like the one thing I like that this movie does is it like goes back and forth with Thor's naivety of being like knowing like he's not as dumb as he was or not as
Yes.
naive as he was, but he's
Yes.
also still
Figuring things out.
yeah.
It's a pendulum swing. There's one
Yeah,
scene
it
where
is.
he's not, and there's one scene, then there's scenes that he is, and it's beautiful, which we're actually going to get to in a second. So Loki reveals that he placed Odin under a spell and dumped him into a retirement home in New York City. But by the time they get there, it's being demolished. I swear I left him right here. Really? Where the building was or underneath the rubble specifically? But before they can plan their next move, Loki is suddenly pulled through a dimensional hole in the sidewalk, and a card appears with an address 177A Bleecker Street is left behind. Thor, of course, goes there to find none other than Dr. Stephen Strange, played by the wonderful Benedict Cumberbatch, the mystic guardian of the earth and the sorcerer supreme, who agrees to help him find Odin on the condition that all Asgardians leave Earth promptly. Thor agrees, and after doing some fun research, during which Thor is constantly teleported around Strange's sanctum, a disordering experience, Dr. Strange deduces that Odin is in Norway. He then releases Loki from his endless fall for 30 minutes, and when Loki tries to attack an exasperated Strange, the Doctor unceremoniously sends them both through another portal. I fucking love everything about this scene.
1000% agree.
I love actually for all of that. There's a scene where Thor is poking an umbrella.
Yep.
Yeah.
The umbrella.
This whole fucking thing is great because if you're gonna be using this could have easily been just Doctor Strange letting him in and talking to him and that's it. But the fact that they integrated all of his powers and stuff just adds so much more to this scene.
Yes.
It really does. Like the use of everything that he can do, and I'm not gonna lie, I wrote it right here. He pokes the card and says Loki. After Loki falls through the hole, and the card for fucking Baker Street or whatever the fuck it is.
Yep.
is not there. Loki.
Yeah. Loki. Where are you? Like, well, I mean, to be fair though, they pretty. This is the other thing too, and just something that I noticed is that, and I know we've picked apart plot consistencies and plot holes in a lot of the movies, rightfully so. Some are apparent and abhorrent and deserve to be picked on. Others were somewhat nitpicking to some extent. I really don't think there was anything that didn't make sense in this. The whole movie, if anything, the writers did a good job of making sure that everything made sense as it flowed. Of course, it would make sense that Doctor Strange would be aware of the presence of Loki, who attacked New York several years ago. Of course, it would make sense that Loki put Odin under a spell and got him off, because how else would he have gotten him off of Asgard? Like just little things like that.
Everything just is so seamless.
Yes.
It's worked into if you didn't look at it through a microscope, you'd be like, whatever. Even if you look at it through a microscope, then you have more appreciation for this movie. Because it manages so many things at the same time while still maintaining entertainment and not ruining people's immersion by being way off with anything. Like, I mean, I had to say, like, while watching this and this whole fucking scene at the beginning, Chris, I don't think you could have cast a better Thor. Like, this is in my opinion, of all the casting, I think he is the best.
Yeah.
of the bunch.
I
In terms of like, you need someone that's physically imposing that can pull it off. He's definitely top 5. He's definitely top
yeah,
5.
no, you know what? I mean, the argument could be made that Robert Downey Jr. is the best because of Tony Stark, which but I think
But
Thor
but all he did was turn Tony Stark into Robert Downey Jr.
basically,
And
yeah.
which is
No,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
what
No, I'm
we think of Tony Stark. I mean, it's still great. It's just like, man, I like you gotta look at like somebody that fits the bill. Holy fucking Christ, man! You couldn't have picked a. I think this is like the best person on earth you could pick to play this character.
Which is interesting because, like, you know, no disrespect to Chris Hemsworth, but he was a virtual unknown, and that's one thing before Thor.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that I actually like about the MCU is that on one hand you have these mega A-list actors and actresses that they'll pull in, which obviously you need a box office draw. I somewhat understand that, but not so much now, and they're taking risks with some very good actors and actresses in some cases, or not as well known ones, which can fucking knock it out of the park sometimes. But that's a whole nother side conversation. But anyway,
You know who he reminds me of in this movie, and it's like a loose. His comedic timing and physical comedy reminds me of kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like a much better version of that, but like out of obscurity, this fucking big muscled man, it just fucking kills it, man. He killed it in this movie.
And
Absolutely.
Yes, Tim, we do need endless beer refilling. I mean that was great to see. The little like tea, not
great.
tea.
And the whole fucking thing where he, like anything he picks up falls to shit.
Not just
he
that,
tries
he's
to
like
put it back together.
And then the very last scene, he just falls down the last flight of stairs, and he's like, could have just walked. I'm like, yeah, he could. You're right, he could have. But no, it was. But my point is that the scene with Strange made sense because, like, you know, they get to Earth, but then Loki wouldn't know where Odin is because Odin just wandered off. He basically escaped the old folks' home, which I thought was fucking hilarious. Now, what's interesting to note is that supposedly there was a deleted scene or an altered scene where they find Odin in the streets as a homeless person. And if you go back and watch the trailer, you'll notice that Hela, in the scene that's coming up a few moments later that we'll talk about, when she destroys a certain thing, she's not where she was in the movie.
I didn't know that.
So if you go back and watch the original trailer, fuck it, I might as well talk about it now, kill some time while waiting for just Heather to get back. The scene coming up, obviously, is Hela destroying Mjolnir in Norway, where they find Odin. But in the trailer, if you go back and watch the original Thor Ragnarok trailer, you'll notice that she's destroying it in like a city alleyway. It's because they rewrote the scene, because originally they were going to find Odin disguised as a homeless person hiding because he's ashamed of his failures, which still lines up. Norway just looks prettier.
I'm actually more with what they did.
No, I agree with you.
It's like, yeah, you can be ashamed, but you're still like a god.
Although, if you
you're
want
not
to see,
gonna fucking sit on the streets and beg for money.
No worries, Jurgen. I appreciate you popping in. No worries. But if you want to see the
Conor,
ultimate
I have
scene,
a question.
Yeah, what's up, Bubbit?
Odin as a homeless person, was that scene completed, or do we know?
I was about to say, if you want to search up some more wonderful Anthony Hopkins acting, you can find the scene on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it's on my Blu-ray.
It could be.
It might be.
It might be.
Scene, whatever.
And we'll catch up with this with Heather when she gets back here. So of course
I can't wait to talk about this one.
They do find Odin in Norway, sitting near a scenic cliff, having of course shaken off Loki's spell, and he admits that he is dying and that Ragnarok is approaching. Thor insists that when he destroyed Surtur, he prevented Ragnarok, but Odin mentions that Hela, played by Kate Blanchett, his first true-born child, the goddess of death and the one who will seize Asgard from Odin's sons, is on the way. Odin tells Thor and Loki that their previously unknown sister was completely consumed by darkness and was sealed away. The only force that continues to her exile the only force that continues her exile is none other than Odin himself. He apologizes to Thor for failing him before dying and disappearing, but as soon as he's gone, Hela emerges from her prison and engages the two in brief small talk. Seeing that she won't be reasoned with, Thor throws Mjolnir towards her. However, the goddess easily catches and effortlessly shatters the long indestructible weapon. Loki, seeing that fuck this shit, I'm out, asks to be returned to Asgard via the Bifrost. However, Hela also enters the portal, expels Loki and then Thor from it at different points and reaches Asgard. Arriving at the Bifrost bridge, she quickly kills Volstagg and Fendrel, which are two of the, buddies that Thor had at the beginning. No one cared. Before recruiting a terrified Skurr to her cause, she then heads to Asgard when she kills the entire palace guard single-handedly, as well as Hogun, again, not brother, another one of the, the male friends that Thor had from the first movie. I have mixed feelings about this scene.
Well, this scene, you went through quite a bit. I got a lot going on here.
So, you know what? The floor is yours, Basement. Let's give you a crack at this one.
All right. So, the first thing I wrote is Odin is a fucking cunt, isn't he? Like, this guy is secretive to a fault. He's like, I'm having a frost giant kid. I'm going to hide it. And people find out, oh, I need to go to bed. And I had another kid, and I put her in the seal, and when I die, she's going to come out. So guess what? Goodbye. I'm going to infinite sleep. Like, what a fucking dickhead. Like, holy fucking Christ. This guy is the worst. He's the worst father. He is the, like, I don't care what he says at the beginning. He's like, yeah, my boys. Yeah, that's cool. It's a fun point. But you left them, you fucking shat on their face while leaving the fucking world. You fucking cunt. He is like 100% a cunt. I hate him. Like, I was watching this, I'm like,
Conor.
I'm like, holy shit, this guy is the literal worst. And then, like, me being me with a goldfish memory, I forgot this entire fucking movie. And while watching, I'm like, hey, this is where they set up new Asgard at some point.
Yes.
In Norway.
Yes.
And I, like, as soon as he like turned into dust, the cunt he is went off into oblivion.
So
it's so bad that I said this is what I actually wrote. Odin's a secretive little cunt, isn't he? Did Odin just Thanos himself? Odin is a fucking cockbag. Just left him with all his baggage and was like, oh boy, I feel another Odin sleep coming on. That's literally what I wrote here. That followed.
I feel another Odin sleep coming on.
This guy is anytime conflict is like, oh my god, I'm out. He's like, you know that meme where the kid like does the deuces and disappears? That's Odin. He's a bitch.
I don't feel so good.
Kate Blanchett. Okay, so I wrote Kate Blanchett could catch these VDs. And that's kind of where that ends for me.
Oh my god, Heather, you missed it. Basically, Basement's like, we just talked about the scene where like Thor and Loki find Odin. He explains everything, explains Hela. Hela shows up, breaks Mjolnir, and they bail. Fucking, he's like, and Basement's like, wow, Odin's a bit of a cunt, isn't he?
He's the biggest cunt around.
It's on the day he dies to explain a greater dark force that is going to come out behind me.
It's almost like when he explained his son's a frost giant before going to bed.
Right?
And never waking up. He's a fucking dick, man. He's the villain. Fuck that guy.
Are you sure Doc Brown's not the villain? So anyway, these terrorists show up.
The worst part about this is he sits there and he says, I love you, my sons.
By the way,
his heart there.
So the one thing I will say about the "I love you, my sons," as much as I hilariously agree with Basement's point, It's not the fact that
It's
he
good for
said it.
Loki.
It's Loki's face that said it to me.
Yeah.
Because if you watch that specific scene, he says he says I love you, my sons, without looking at them at all.
He's like BT Dubs, sons. I love you. I'm going out for cigarettes.
Nice job, sons.
Also, my first daughter was deaf. Goodbye. And you have to deal with that.
My question is, what happened? My question is, what if they didn't find him?
Yeah.
Hell of a shock.
Hey, boys.
I think he like had the ability to choose when he died. It's like,
So-
your mother's calling to me, and I'm tired of you fucks talking. Also, I had another kid, and she's the worst. Here she is.
Oh, she might show up because I'm the only thing holding her back. So
Just like Tim
Deuces.
said. I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
So there is a couple things that I did remember from just like the Thor movies, and you're right that Asgardians are not immortal. They are not immortal.
They turn to dust.
But apparently, unless they are killed by swords, they
It's just swords?
Frigga. That's how she got killed.
Actually, yeah, no, I think only swords can kill them.
Maybe. But my point is that they can choose when they want to die,
Only swords can kill them.
or blades of some
Yeah,
kind. Yeah.
Blades of any sort.
Yep.
They only blades can injure them. What
Right.
a weird fucking. Anyways.
So just a fun little note there. But yeah, basically he's just like, so you stopped Ragnarok. Well, anyway, Hela's coming. Who? Your sister. What? Death. What? All right, I'm out. Woo.
What are your thoughts on Kate Blanchett? And she's like 48 in this movie or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
She came in with the thunder gods in my loins.
Hey,
Zeus is all I'm gonna say.
I like the point. I like the pointy things on her.
I prefer when she didn't have them, but I'll take them as well.
I mean, I'll take. I don't
I mean,
care.
she's fucking you. Let's be real.
Yeah, you are not in charge in that situation. That is all her.
Yeah.
Dad,
About you.
I come with my own ball gag, ma'am. That's how I interpreted that.
That's why she got Scourge.
Yeah. She looked amazing. All jokes aside, she looked amazing. Costume design was perfect. I think the presentation of her coming out. I want to know where physically the fuck she was. I know she was banished, but like
The underworld.
Where?
Portal
I think if you
ripped.
go by mythology, she is in the underworld because she was
She
banished
could be.
from Asgard, and she is death.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
Domain.
I mean, I do love how Odin's like, exposition, bye.
Oh, I feel another sleep coming on.
Oh, don't worry, we'll just wake you up. This one's permanent.
Yeah. Dust, bitch. Don't wake me.
Dad, where'd you get that eye patch? It doesn't matter.
I watched this scene. I'm like, this guy is a fucking cunt, man. Like, he's the worst. He's the worst father.
So
I hate him.
Looking back at Hela destroying Mjolnir, obviously that was not only trailer fodder, but
Now it has a purpose.
Yeah.
it does. But what I also like about it too is that, and it's kind of funny because there's a character that actually sums it up extremely well later on about Thor's relationship with Mjolnir, which we'll get to in a little bit. But you talk about like shit hitting the fan for Thor within like fucking 10, I think it was 30 minutes. I think at this point it was like the 30-minute mark. So Thor's now flying through God knows where. Don't know where Loki is. Odin's dead. There's a sister of death, and Mjolnir's broken.
Oh, and she's trying to take over all of Asgard because that's her rightful throne.
Yep.
As eldest.
So said
Holy
that
shit.
the colors are just awesome in this movie at this point.
Like, God, they were.
Yeah, the color palette is fucking absolutely great in this shit.
So
And I also said I was pretty happy when she killed his friend, to be honest.
Thor's friends.
Yeah. I just did never care for them. They were terrible.
Freaking
Um,
spoiler fodder anyway, but I love how when she started taking over, you saw the colors getting more muted in Asgard.
Yeah.
yes,
If
and
It's a
if anything,
beautiful
like
touch.
this is why, like, this is another reason why I will pinpoint Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, the
Mhm.
focus on color and color use is something more films should try.
well, it's interesting because that is one thing that a lot of people, obviously the writing and the tone was very different for the movie, like we talked about earlier with Taika Watiti. But one of the big things that a lot of people give this movie praise for is the color schemes and the vibrance of color throughout. You didn't really see those in the other Thor movies. I mean, obviously you had like the Rainbow Bridge
Well,
and the Bifrost, but other than that,
it fits the tone of this movie. It doesn't
yes,
fit the tone of, say, the second Thor movie.
right.
Maybe
No.
the first, for a while, it's pretty bright, and fucking for some reason Thor looks like Casper.
Oh my God, the blonde eyebrows. Yeah, Jesus, don't even get me started on that one.
Right.
But Bobbit, what'd you think of like Hela's introduction, Odin being a cunt of a father, all that stuff we just kind of covered?
I agree with everything that y'all said so far, especially the whole Owen being a cunt thing. It's like, oh, you had a sister the whole time. Deuces. No, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, he just kind of bounced. Like, I mean, if you think about it, he was a dick in every Thor movie.
I'm saying, fuck this guy.
Glad he's dead.
Yeah, realistically,
Oh man.
fucking dickhead.
So of course, at this point now, we are at the part where Thor is deposited by a portal on a planet known as Sakaar, which seems to consist entirely of gigantic garbage mounds fed by giant portals in the skies. He's, of course, attacked by several scavengers. Now weaponless, he is quickly overpowered before his attackers are scared off by the hard-hitting, hard-drinking bounty hunter, who will later be revealed to be Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson. However, she then captures Thor, placing a small, shocking device on his neck to pacify him, and takes him to the Grandmaster, played by the wonderful Jeff Goldblum, who is delighted with his newest acquisition and decides to put him up against his champion fighter. So, first off, I love how the Valkyrie comes in. You don't know anything about her, but she's like, I'll take it from here. And she's about to do her dramatic walk to go get Thor and, like, presumably beat everybody up. And she collapses from inebriation, falls off the fucking ramp. Love it. Love everything about that.
That introduction for a Valkyrie, I think, is perfect.
I think that's where I got the James Gunn vibe. Right?
Yeah.
I think that particular scene. On top of that, I remember when he was originally going to fight off everybody, he instinctively went out to call for Mjolnir, forgetting what just happened with Mjolnir a few moments ago. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I don't have Mjolnir. Gets his ass kicked. The small shocking device to pacify him. And then and then the Grandmaster. God, I love Jeff Goldblum. I love Jeff fucking Goldblum.
I love how they stylized him for this movie, but from the makeup to the costume and the way they had him fucking act.
I don't think he acted. I don't think he acted. I think that was fucking him.
I think it was Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, wowie dow. We're gonna have, yes, gonna have my fighting champion. Yeah. It's fucking him. It's him.
We'll get you back to Asland.
Yeah. Mr. Lord of Thunder, as it were. Yes. We're gonna have you fight against a champion. It's gonna be shocking. Oh, sparks on his fingers. Look at that. I fucking love. You talk about type. You talk about like perfect casting.
Yes.
Basement.
Yeah, well, I'll get there, baby.
I was gonna say is that I loved it all with him. I love the touch of the super thick gold eyeliner in the Egyptian wing.
Mm-hmm.
fucking genius for that.
Lord of Sparkles, yes. Thor quickly learns that Loki is also present and has been there for apparently a few weeks, with time moving far quicker on the Grandmaster's planet, during which he has found favor with the Grandmaster. Not wishing to jeopardize his position, Loki pretends not to care about his brother, and Thor is thrown in the dungeons where he befriends everyone's favorite rock creature Korg, who explains that all who have gone up against the champion have been killed. So that's everything up until this point. So now,
sorry. I had
no, go ahead.
I have a lot of talking points.
Is one of them who Korg is voiced by?
Well, that's down the list.
Okay, you go do your shopping list.
Okay, here's the thing. Though she is probably the best she is in this movie, Tessa Thompson just does it. I just don't like her as an actress. I'm sorry. I just don't. I watch Men in Black. Everything I've seen her in, she has this fucking shit-eating grin on her face for some reason.
I'm actually looking up what else she has been in because I'll be honest.
Men in Black. She was in this. She was in Creed. The first one. She was in something else.
She was
that
also.
I saw her in.
You ready for this?
She was in obviously the Avengers.
She was Lady and the Tramp. She was Lady in the live action Lady and the Tramp movie. So
I'd rather eat my own ass than watch that.
Continue.
So also, like you said, and I also thought this, the thing she uses on Thor is electrically charged. Fucking God of Thunder. What the fuck is going on here? Like, am I the only person that caught that? I was like, that looks like a stun gun. Future version, which should not do anything to this man. I mean, it turned his fucking shit purple. I mean, I assumed it was something different after a while, but I mean, all signs point to stun gun, which should do nothing to the God of Thunder. But anyways, there was a scene here where Hela attacks everybody and kills, or I think she kills Hogun. His name is Hogun too.
Yeah,
Hogun.
Let me tell you something, Hela, brother.
I mean, he spelled it like a hoe with a gun.
Yep.
The CGI on that was not great. I mean, like, I'll give him, like, they got Cate Blanchett. She's not exactly a spring chicken. She can do it acting wise, but any action scene, she turned into a Gumby. And it didn't look.
The whole point, because she was a quote unquote goddess. Like with Loki, she can shapeshift and call on certain things.
Right.
So.
She changed her shape to early age CGI. Also, did you guys catch that when fucking, I was like, what is that? When they capture Thor and they're putting him through, like, you're welcoming, you're gonna meet the Grandmaster, they're playing the Willy Wonka fucking song.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, oh my god. It's obviously like a bit edited for it.
I took it as a mix of Willy Wonka meets It's a Small World After All.
I think it might actually be that. And then I just sit down in my gold blums. I can feel it down in my gold blums.
I could not stop smiling every time Jeff Goldblum.
Honestly, Jeff Goldblum, love him. It's the absolute greatest fucking thing in the world. They almost assembled the Jurassic Park trifecta.
As I'm saying, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They're missing one. And then I
Alan.
went on for many points to say I just want to lay on his chest. Fucking Jeff Goldblum is the best. Korg is great as well. He is Taika twisting my titties.
Tim made a comment in the chat, and knowing that, and if you take that into consideration, that makes sense. Tim says only defense of that, meaning the shock and the shock thing,
He's
is that
dealt with lightning before.
Is that
why I think
right? But it says at this time in the movie, Thor doesn't realize that he controls the thunder on his own. He believes it was Mjolnir that allowed him to control thunder.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, I'll give you that.
Because
And I
I get,
actually don't think it's. I don't think it's what I'm thinking it is. Like, I mean, I'm gonna equate it to that because it obviously looks like that. But like, their fucking veins turn purple and shit. It's got to be something more than
yeah,
electricity.
nervous system.
Mhm.
But where was I? I just lost my notes here.
After Korg and the introduction of Korg.
Yes. So Korg, you know who he's voiced by?
Dude, he stands up and looks like this most intimidating piece of rock on this fucking planet, but then he starts talking.
Hey, my name's Korg.
It's weird.
If you ever get a chance to listen to Taika Watiti do an interview, there was
He's
one
so good.
it's funny because he's like, I am the worst fucking actor on the face of the planet. He's like, I do not. He's like, when you heard me do Korg, that's my range. Like, that's it. That's all I do.
That's fine. I saw it in fucking that vampire movie, Shadows.
Yes. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
I'm
was
like,
just,
this is perfect.
but it's funny how like, no, yeah, I didn't know that the first time around that was him. And then
I think
obviously,
I have watched the movie by then. When did Dark in the Shadows or whatever the fuck it was called come out?
let me just find out. Dark. That's
Yeah, I
the
don't think it's called Dark in the Shadows.
That it came out.
I thought it came up beforehand.
It's
It's,
called what we do in the shadows.
There we go.
2014.
'Cause
So
I-
that was 3 years before.
Yeah.
The reason I know that is
I've recognized
because
it.
the reason why I know this is because I watched that show and the show is fucking hilarious.
Man, I haven't seen the show, but I heard it's great, and the movie was fucking great. So
I do
whatever,
love
I will suck on his TTs.
there was a scene. I think we haven't gotten to that scene yet. No, this is right around the scene where when Thor's thrown into that area with Korg and everything, and Loki shows up as a hologram or like a projected image, and Thor's throwing the stuff at him because he's not responding. And what's interesting is this is usually the part where there's the banter back and forth, and Thor just goes, "What would you want me to say?" Like all these things are happening. Like I'm not. At this point, like I'm done. And then when Loki leaves, go away, ghost.
But this is like the balance of this movie that's so good. They present something a bit more serious, and then they always like add a little comic twist, so it never really feels heavy. The movie doesn't. Where Thor: The Dark World did.
Yes.
They leave it heavy and move on, right? So this is
Right.
the difference between the two. But I do love the fact that that's a theme throughout this movie. Him being there versus him being not there, and when him being there is him
Yes.
being there, it has weight to it.
Because there was four scenes
I think
that
4 and 2 he was there and 2 he was not.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're right, the idea that the tease the tease of him never being there and always being an illusion and not being trusting, which we'll talk about when we talk about Get Help. But
That's the most part of Loki's character, in my opinion.
Yep. I mean, Bob, what'd you think about the introduction of Korg, Jeff Goldblum, Thor's now on the planet now?
First of all, Jeff Goldblum, anything is fucking gold.
I will fuck that man, or he can fuck me.
And like him as a grandmaster, it's just that it's one of the reasons why I fucking love this movie. He is nothing but hilarious, and and Korg, I absolutely love Korg, especially what he does like later on in the future movies, and the whole planet I thought was pretty cool, like the way that it looked, because it looked a lot different to most planets that we've seen in the MCU up to this point.
Bob, but I have a question for you. Did it
that?
This is how it felt to me. It looked like it was lifted out of the Star Wars universe.
It did. It literally did. It reminded me of Tatooine a little bit.
Well, I mean, it was obviously like more like colored and like had like a weird, not necessarily like a steampunk or a cyberpunk vibe, but it had a vibe that was so much Star Wars with more color.
And
Yeah.
Hobbit, I think what you're thinking of is actually like the underworld of Coruscant.
Yeah, I don't think
Yep,
it's Tatooine.
yep,
Tatooine's a
yep, yep,
fucking
yep.
desert. But I agree with you 100%. Like the one of the like when I watch this movie, I'm like, one of the characters is the fucking city they're in, and I wish to God that they did more practical effects for the city. That's the one knock I have on this movie. They rely a bit too heavy on the CGI. I know it's a Marvel movie, but if you can do it practical,
Well, you know what's
do it practical.
you know what's funny? Remember how we said this? I think for either Guardians 2 or Guardians 1, about the Fifth Element vibe.
Yeah.
Same idea. But the Fifth Element was mostly practical.
No, I know. I'm just saying is as far as the environment
Yeah,
vibe, I got that
especially with the
vibe
color and stuff like
more.
that.
Yeah, more on this one than I did the others.
I agree with you, but I mean, the thing is, like, when they do practical, it looks so good. And when I
True.
see them like enter a room that is obviously green screen or blue screen, but why? All it is like a colored background. You could have made this.
Yeah.
That's my biggest frustration with this movie is the reliance on CGI, because I like the movie. I really like the movie. I just the CGI sometimes is just
I know.
jarring.
Seems to be the constant uphill struggle with Marvel sometimes.
But it's also especially because they do the practical effects so well in this movie. Then when you see the CGI, it looks that much out of place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, while all this is going on, Hela finally enters Asgard's throne room and pulls down the fresco above the throne depicting Odin and the royal family and their benevolent rule of their kingdom in the universe, revealing the darker history of Asgard where Odin and Hela conquered the 9 realms before she was banished by her father. Hela then heads down to Asgard's vaults and uses Asgard's eternal flame to restore her entire army and retrieve her monstrous wolf Fenris. She also dismisses the Infinity Gauntlet that is kept in there as being a fake. She then attempts to open a portal and conquer all the realms, but the Bifrost sword has been taken by Heimdall, who has been hiding in the hills and is now sheltering the escaped civilians from Asgard. So this kind of goes back to the credence of Odin being a dick. And there's even a line later on where Hela's like, see, you're surrounded by gold. Where do you think it came from? And it's like, great, now Asgard's built on blood. That's awesome. Let's just wrap it up. And Father's Day is next week, so I know who I'm getting a present for.
Me, because I'm your daddy.
I'll be your daddy. So the thing that kind of struck me as odd was the whole Odin's vault scene. I don't know about you guys. Like, yeah, she got the eternal flame and was able to resurrect her army and the wolf, which I don't give a shit. The wolf was fucking cool.
I don't know why the wolf turned back to like regular looking while everybody else stayed zombie.
She loves him.
All right, fair enough.
Perfect. So meanwhile, Thor is taken to the arena and put up against the champion, who is revealed to be none other than the Incredible Hulk. By the way, before we get to this particular further point, at this point, Thor's hair was cut in a fun little scene where his hair is now shorter, as he did get a haircut from none other than our wonderful favorite Stan Lee cameo. For this movie. So Thor is overjoyed to see his old teammate. However, Hulk ends up attacking him. The two bash each other around the arena, with Thor ultimately gaining the upper hand. He tries to use Natasha Romanoff's calming technique to make him transform back into Bruce Banner. However, it clearly doesn't work, and Hulk thrashes him around. Loki is, of course, unsettled to again see the creature that gave him a sound beating during his attempt of conquest of Earth. But I also do love the scene where Loki's like, that's what it feels like. Eventually, Thor stops holding back and begins to fight, and at one point having a vision of Odin causing him to channel raw lightning. However, just when he's about to win, the Grandmaster, not wanting to see a crowd and his own favorite be beaten, shocks Thor into submission. As the Hulk leaps into the air to crush Thor, Thor puts his hand up in defense before everything goes completely black. Again, I really wish they didn't show Hulk in the trailer. Sorry, was that Heather?
It's a friend from work.
Yeah. Which, by the way, that line was actually written by a Make-A-Wish kid who visited the set. And Thor kept that in the movie, or Chris Hemsworth kept that in the movie.
This whole thing, I mean, at this point with Hela entering the throne, claiming Skarg as her executioner at
Right.
the same time.
Yep.
It's like, okay, this bitch means fucking business, and she will do anything and everything to be sure she gets that throne for herself. So it's like, okay, good. You got the dark part of this now settled and just point driven. That's what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get back to this bright, colorful world, and Thor. Yeah, I know this guy. He's hard for work. We got no problems here. And then seeing him try to do fucking Black Widow's technique, it's just like, no. What? You are not Caesar the Dog Whisperer. Stop.
Sun's getting real low, big guy.
Go ahead, basement.
Bobbit?
Oh, yeah, I'll go. I didn't know you was talking basement.
I wasn't.
Okay, cool. But but the one thing I really want to add is I love the fucking color palette that they use in this battle. Like, it is absolutely gorgeous on Blu-ray.
I mean, yeah, with the exploding colors and everything, it almost looked like an episode of Dynamite or Rampage.
Well, it visually, it's a beautiful movie anyway. Outside of the fact that the arena looked terrible. Like, why not just put a fucking... This is the thing. They do not do practical effects when they can do it. I can almost guarantee you, them making a CGI arena pretty much costs as much as doing a practical effect mixed with CGI when they needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I can almost guarantee you, which means just lazy filmmaking.
I mean,
And I don't like that.
That was the plan. Ha ha ha! The Grandmaster.
I mean, I just like, I don't know. That, like, the actual arena when, like, Thor walks in and doesn't know he's fighting looks like fucking shit. Like, this was terrible looking to me.
That's the idea.
No, but there's no point. There's no point to that. And the fact that, like, I'm gonna say it, like, fucking Hulk looks so good.
Yeah.
And everything else looks so good. That CGI just looks so bad. Like, why integrate shitty CGI in an integral part of your movie for literally no reason outside of the fact that we didn't want to build it, mate. Fuck off.
Yes,
build it, mate.
I commissioned not slaves. We call them what was the
we
phrase
paid
he
them.
used?
No. They were paid workers or something.
Unpaid employees or something like that. It's like something like that. Like
some shit. Also, the helmet. Fuck that. I was.
How did I know?
Threw it in my face. Threw it in my face. Okay.
How did I know you were gonna talk shit about the helmet?
How long did it last? And then Hulk looks. I said Hulk looks like he's straight out of Warcraft, which was 100% true.
By the way, there was a scene earlier with this where Thor is trying to prepare himself for the battle, and he talks about Mjolnir, and Korg just goes, "Wow, it's almost like you had like an intimate relationship with that hammer, almost like you, lost a friend or a brother." It's like, wow, way to like point out that like
that was in this movie
character trait. Yeah.
It was just before he entered the arena.
Yep.
Oh, I thought you said it was like a remove scene.
No. I said there was a scene before this. And then that's when he also figures out that Valkyrie is or was a Valkyrie, where he recognizes the tattoo and Korg says those Asgardians are tough ones. He goes, Asgardian goes, "You're a Valkyrie."
Have you seen Men in Black with her?
Yeah, unfortunately.
I can't. The same too.
Yep.
And it's terrible.
I
It's
saw
a terrible
of her scene. It's like, yep, I'm done with this movie.
But I also feel like after this movie, that actress just became. She's like just smug, fucking mean mugging in every fucking thing she's in. I can't take it anymore.
That's why you can't wait for Thor: Love and Thunder.
From the trailers, they show her kind of being more relaxed, except for the scene where she's in a suit.
I don't give a shit. Christian Bale
even-
looks fucking menacing, so I don't care. I'm gonna be watching it anyway. But anyway,
Even in this movie, like, I don't know, the actress just doesn't do it for me.
but aside from that, still love the fight scene.
It's solid. What are you gonna fucking really expect? You know, you got a CGI monster versus a regular person.
I did like I did love the tease of Thor's powers, though.
Yes, and I mean, it's weird that he found his fucking terrible father on the fields to be like, hey,
I mean,
yes, I can be like you,
let's
which
all
is not really what you want to be.
let's all face it. We all giggled. We all kind of smirked when Loki stood up. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, as soon as like Hulk showed up, Loki like immediate PTSD.
I need to get off this planet.
Fancy up that look.
Yeah, that was great.
I can't be here right now.
Yeah, I need to get off this planet.
The one person he's scared of, which is not really a person; it's a fucking gigantic monster.
I mean, rightfully so. Meanwhile, while this is all going on Asgard, Hela has the remaining people rounded up and demands to know where the Bifrost sword is. When no one comes forward, Hela tells Scourge to execute a random person. Scourge hesitates, but is still about to do it. But before he can make the kill, someone comes forward and tells them of Heimdall's location. Thor wakes up, meanwhile, later in Hulk's chamber, with Hulk being completely naked. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Being pampered by several beautiful women. Thor speaks to Hulk privately. Hulk is now able...
women there? I didn't see that.
When healing Thor. He like wakes up from... Anyway, he screams at them.
Canada cut.
Yep. Thor speaks to Hulk privately. Hulk is now able to speak far more intelligently than he was able to in his last appearance, and learns that he hasn't transformed back into Banner since leaving Earth 2 years earlier. Hulk points out that the Quinjet he left Earth with is still in one piece and could be used to escape. He also learns that Valkyrie is an Asgardian who is part of an elite all-female group who were sent up against Hela during her previous assault, but all were killed, with our Valkyrie being the only survivor. Thor tries to convince her to help, but she initially refuses. And although Hulk is happy in his life and wants to stay, he does help Thor acquire the control device for his electronic restraint. Thor pickpockets it from Valkyrie and removes the chakra from his neck. Thor then escapes from Hulk's apartment and reaches the Quinjet, but is chased by Hulk, who smashes it half apart. However, Thor then plays Black Widow's Scarlett Johansson's last message to him, prompting the Hulk to transform back into Bruce Banner. I'll put a pause right there. So, lot to digest there. Hulk is definitely not the same Hulk that we saw back from Avengers Age of Ultron.
It's also questionably not the same Hulk from scene to scene.
Yeah.
Which, though I will give credit to not Bruce Banner, the fucking actor, Mark Ruffalo.
Yep.
For playing the Hulk, and I think he does a great job. It's the script that's kind of confusing because he seems like a retarded baby every now and then he seems like he can put things together. Like it's kind of like back and forth, but for the most part, I gotta give it to Mark Ruffalo. I like him better as the Hulk than I like him as Bruce Banner.
Yes,
I think I do as well. I think this is maybe like a pre-test or a prerequisite kind of tease, much like we'll see in Infinity War with what they're going to do with Hulk, but we'll get there when we get there.
Also, the CGI on Hulk, fucking phenomenal. In terms of, like, I could tell he's CGI, but, like, anytime he moves, his fucking muscles and tendons move. Like, you can see it in his skin.
You were looking at his ass, weren't you?
Well, you can't see it, except for one scene, which I've been looking at on repeat.
Your wallpaper.
It's me now. I identify as Hulk's ass.
I also did love the banter between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking gold.
They're both like childish. It's childish banter.
Be a really
back
bad
and forth.
friend.
Yeah.
We called you the stupidest Avenger.
And this is what I say when I say they kept like they progressed Thor mentally, but they also kept the version of Thor that we know.
Yeah.
Yes. Which was really the smart way to go about this, because if you're gonna have someone, a new director, or even a new writing, or with obviously the departure of how different they're making this movie and the tone being so different, that makes sense rather than just completely flipping the script. You know what I mean? It's the same reason why when he was talking to Doctor Strange, he's like, "Why didn't you just call me?" He's like, "And you don't have a phone." But no, but you could have sent an electronic letter. It's called an email. Yeah, do you have a computer? No, what for?
Yeah.
He knows, but he doesn't practice what he preaches.
Exactly. And with this, I love the fact that we see the side of Hulk that it's like you could see he
Never
felt
seen.
trapped.
Basically.
He felt trapped within that body, whereas on that planet there, he can be free and be himself and still be treated as kind of a person in a sense. And
You know
actually
what?
be revered and not feared.
I actually love that because now that you're saying it, I didn't like 100%. Like I picked up on it a little bit, but like not to the extent that you're saying. Like I mean, we haven't seen for the most part. We've seen Bruce Banner be in control
Yep.
and only use the Hulk when he needs to smash.
Correct.
But now that we've seen the Hulk, and when we entered this, he's been in control for 2 years or close
Yep.
to it, right?
Yes.
To see the Hulk be in complete control, he's still I don't it's fascinating to see. And no, I do not want a movie about it.
No.
But
Yeah.
I love the idea of this is why it works so well. Him being included in this movie is so perfect because they can develop him as a character without him needing to be the like. This is why the Hulk movies didn't work
Yes.
because there is enough there, but there's not enough there to focus 1000% on him.
Well, it's interesting because Hulk, obviously we've said this before, Hulk has not had a solo movie since The Incredible Hulk back in 2008.
And I'm 100% good with that.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I agree in the sense that I think that especially at this point, and especially more so once we get past Endgame, I don't mind him being a supporting character. I don't mind him being the secondary foil to everything. And, I mean, maybe we'll get more with, I know Basement can't wait for the She-Hulk show.
But they give him enough growth for him to be important in everybody else's show, basically, or
Right.
everybody else's movie.
I mean, there's a misstep
The
I think with
She-Hulk.
him, which there's a misstep with him creatively that we'll get to when we get to a few movies down the road. But yeah, I agree, and I think that this was great banter to see the two of them, and I especially love when like Thor's trying to be like the
No man, the
the
sun's
big-
getting low. It killed me every time. You know how we fucking hated on that?
it's a
in the Avengers.
it's a one two
like,
it's a
yes.
1-2 punch between the sun's getting low and then getting tossed around and then Loki going, "That's what it feels like." Like it was
Well, I mean, throughout this whole movie, the sun's getting low is just fucking great. It went from me hating it to me being like, I love that he's trying it, but he has got no chance.
what I found interesting was
The
that
sun's getting low. The sun's getting low.
what I found
Like,
interesting.
no.
I also did love that they teased it for a second. So Thor's like,
Yeah.
doing the smile and then
Yeah.
it's like, huh, and then he just fucking wailed on him. But what I did find a little bizarre was that like, what's that?
To your point where Hulk sits there and doesn't know how to do things, but then also does know how to do certain things. I think that's the starting of the battle between Banner's brain and Hulk
Yeah.
brain.
Where they end up. This is where this in the
precursor.
subtlety. This movie is actually genius.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the precursor to what we're gonna get later on.
Mhm.
Yep.
This the balance of what this movie does is like I have to applaud. I have to, because though it's just a fun romp, it's like
There's a lot of important points.
everything is weighed correctly and used correctly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
so at this point, I also got a little confused of where Hulk just suddenly gave a shit about Thor sticking around. Like I don't know if it was me or if
He's
I
like a
missed.
baby. I think this is the fight between him and Banner.
Well,
I'm gonna sum it up to that.
What I think what it actually is with Hulk, Thor is the only other Avenger that can actually stand up to him
And he
and
knows
actually
that.
play with him in a sense. You
And
know,
he knows that after that fight because he knows he was subdued. Even though he's like dim-minded as Hulk, he knows he was subdued for him to get the quote unquote win.
Yeah.
right. Hmm. I mean, I don't know if it was
I mean, he plays with Valkyrie too. So
right, but I don't know. It seemed a little weird that I'm like, did I miss a part or a scene or a line or something that I didn't catch that like it just went from him like
they did kind of skip over it. They didn't like paint the trail, but
yeah.
it was there.
But at this point, oh yeah,
Avengers movie when they said when he sat there and he did the playful punch to his shoulder and sent him flying.
love it.
And he just got right back up and just
Yep.
the next time he held up the hammer and blocked it.
So after playing the Black Widow's message last mentioned, Hulk is now transformed back into Bruce Banner, played by Mark Ruffalo. Thor explains to Banner, whose last memories are of Sokovia during Ultron's offensive, was what happened. Banner is unable to believe that Hulk was able to remain in control for 2 years and doesn't want to transform again, knowing that if he does, he might remain the Hulk forever. Valkyrie meets up with Loki and the two engage in a brief fight, and after Loki learns where she comes from, he uses his powers to make her remember her last encounter with Hela. Valkyrie has a change of heart and decides to help Thor return to Asgard and shows her goodwill by beating and chaining up Loki. Reuniting, Thor and Loki head down to steal a ship. However, Loki attempts to betray Thor to the Grand Master. Thor expected such a move by Loki, places the shocking device onto Loki's back. Thor then tells his brother he'd hoped he would have at least shown some capacity for growth and even begin to change for the better, but he now understands Loki will always just be a trickster. He then leaves the shocking device turned on with a remote just too far out of reach. So,
I've got a hot take on this.
there's a lot to break down here. So Heather, I'll let you go.
The scenes thing here with this, the scene where they're getting off the elevator and they're doing that conversation of help as their plan, was
Yep.
all improvised.
Really?
According to several reports out there, including Hiddleston himself, actually, that whole thing was just improvised on the spot.
That's fantastic. That just makes it so much better. There is a lot more. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I just checked it out. Yep, you're right. According to Tom Hiddleston, absolutely correct. So there's a lot to digest here. So the first is I love the fact that Banner acknowledges that, like, holy shit, Hulk's been in control for 2 years. If I transform again, I may not be back in control, which gives him the hesitation to want to go back to being Hulk again, because there's obviously a slew of moments where he could have transformed back into the Hulk and made it easier for everybody. But I love, again, the just subtle little thing of like, hey, if he's afraid of transforming because he may not be able to transform back. Again, simple little shit. I love it. It's fucking easy. Valkyrie kind of having the change of heart. I did love the little fight with Loki, and I thought that the cinematography of having Loki kind of like read Valkyrie's mind to kind of give us that, I mean,
That was a cool scene.
beautiful illustration.
It merged the paintings on the roof with real time.
Yes. Absolutely gorgeous.
Okay, here's the thing. This is where the movie could have taken 2 turns.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, like, they didn't take the wrong turn at all.
Yeah.
Because I think if they want to do what they're going to do and where they're going to go with this, then it's probably the right choice. But is it just me that feels like Bruce Banner and the Hulk and the whole transformation, if I transform into the Hulk again, has no weight, even though it should be weighty as fuck?
It doesn't.
Because that's like I'm going to be taken over by another entity, and it's the Hulk, which is super powerful and might ruin everything. And it's kind of like just like all right, and brush off the shoulder.
Sort of, kinda, and I get where you're coming from. I think that like. I actually, to be honest with you, I appreciate the way they do that because if they didn't go that route, right, it could have been just
No.
a simple of like, oh shit,
What I'm saying is them not going that route. I think they sacrificed going that route fully because they had to develop Valkyrie as a character.
yeah, they could, yeah. Well, that goes back to the whole Hulk being a side character thing. You could have just done that line, and I, to be honest, I think they hit.
Like in my opinion, you kind of weaken Bruce Banner as a character in favor of Valkyrie being a character.
I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here. I think also part of that frustration is because of what we know or lack thereof comes in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah, again, we try to do these individually,
But
obviously it's
I
hard.
do feel like there's an obvious like we need to include X, Y, and Z in here, and I'm not against it because I do feel like they did a great job of balancing it and still
Yeah.
making a good movie. But I will always look at this movie as kind of like being a Hulk Thor movie that becomes a Hulk Valkyrie movie.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from, but
where
I mean,
one is way more important to the future than the other.
right. So tricky business there, but I mean, I still, you're right. They could have done it a little bit better, but I didn't mind it at the end.
I mean,
So-
but yeah, in the end, it doesn't hurt the movie. It hurts the character.
Yeah.
But that's
Which
just
I think they
neither
tried
here
to
nor
make.
there.
I think they tried to make up for that.
They tried to do they tried to do
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
that they did, and they did the best that they could. And I'm sure like there was like studio heads being like, we have to have like a strong female lead in this character in this movie, right? We need it. So, and I mean, she's the best I've seen her in fucking Men in
Yeah.
Black.
Right.
Men in Black.
I
Fuck
did.
that shit.
I did like the scene where she's like, I brought you a peace offering, and it's Loki tied up, and in order to make sure it's him, he throws a can or whatever at him.
I mean, I still don't like her, but I don't hate her in this movie. Where I hate her in everything else she's done. Fucking Tessa Thompson for some reason.
The big scene. Not only did I love the get help part, which I thought was fantastic, but the scene in the elevator right before that, when the dialogue right before the get help, I think was
Great.
very powerful.
It was.
With Thor saying, or Loki saying like, maybe I should stay here, and Thor's like, actually, I was gonna suggest that, and he's like, really, you think so you think so little of me? He's like, Loki, I thought of the world of you, but obviously our paths went two different ways, and I'm butchering the dialogue here, I don't want to like ruin it, but that
That showed how much Thor had grown.
yes, and
in the end, the choice is to do the Chad method.
but what that does is that creates
like apologetic from Loki.
What's that?
I think him willing to do it, even though he says it's demeaning, is apologetic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. No, I get help. But to me, this was a very powerful scene that really makes what happens in the next Avengers movie, and in some cases, the Loki series that I'm sure we'll get to, really hit that emotional like punch in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go back to all the other moments and scenes, and there's a build up throughout God fucking number of movies. But to me, this movie had two very big emotional scenes. The first one being the "I love you, sons" with Loki's reaction, and then this dialogue with Thor in the elevator right before the get help. I mean, whew, good shit.
Mm-hmm.
Good shit.
And again, it shows how much Thor had grown to be the more mature brother, to see that he's not going to change the brother he thought he had.
Yep. Yeah.
His brother Loki is going to be the same trickster. He's going to be the same villain he's always been. and there's nothing he can do about it. So it's better that they part ways.
Yeah, and then of course
That he like Loki for the longest time has been like, I get you, Thor. This is Thor getting Loki.
Yes.
Like understanding him as a whole, and them like working it out, being like, you are you, and I am I, but doesn't mean we have to be fucking killing each other.
Mm-hmm.
right. And on top of that, they kind of goes off with the scene of like him trying like, oh, Loki's gonna betray you, and then he's like, and then just getting him with the shocking, saying like, you are getting predictable, where
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy for Thor to do,
Trick.
because
You're not gonna trick me
I
again.
mean, it works into where his character goes. Thor is fucking great, man. He starts off as a Chad, and it turns into
dad.
just super likable. Yeah, Dad.
From Chad to dad. But so at this point, Thor, Banner. Sorry, Bob, I've got to chime in. Bob, what'd you think about this whole build up right now between Thor and Loki? This whole scene.
Oh, I loved it because you could tell that Thor really wanted his brother to change, and it's not ever going to happen. And like you said, it was incredibly powerful, and then especially in that elevator scene. And I thought it was done beautifully, honestly.
It was.
Indeed.
Like this fucking movie.
Yeah, it's a
It
lot.
has no reason to be this good. It really does not.
Yeah. So at this point, I love how. Oh, yep.
Another thing, Connor, I don't know how far they got into this, but there was talks after Age of Ultron of them doing a Planet Hulk movie before this.
So what's funny was I was checking out the pre-production notes, and they said that they purposely filmed the last scene with Hulk in Age of Ultron to be on Earth because they had no plans of making a Planet Hulk movie. But then when they figured out what they were going to do with Thor and they were going to integrate Hulk in there, they're like, well, screw it. We might as well combine the two together anyway. But
I will say, like, when Hulk turns back to Bruce Banner, am I the only person here getting a fucking Jerry Seinfeld vibe from this
No,
motherfucker?
you're not.
Holy shit, was he Jerry Seinfelding me in the fucking streets? Like it was.
Why can't I be
like,
the
you want a
Hulk?
coffee? You wanna jump in my car, get a coffee?
Why can't I be the Hulk?
I mean, I swear to you, he was 100% Jerry.
Thor, you gotta go and get Valkyrie and
brother.
Loki and escape off the planet. You gotta go up at the Saint Zanus.
Rewatch that scene when
This
he's
is
talking to him before he puts the like scarf on his head. 1000% Seinfeld.
Disguise, yeah. Oh, we have to go up to Saint
Yeah.
Zanus, yeah. Or sorry, Devil's Anus, excuse me. So Thor, Banner, and Valkyrie steal the Grandmaster's party/orgy ship, and escaping the Grandmaster's clutches, leave through a passageway known as the Devil's Anus, reaching Asgard just as Hela is about to destroy the remaining population who had attempted to escape through the Bifrost Bridge. Thor engages her in a vicious battle, but is still overpowered and ends up losing an eye as a result of the battle. Feeling he is useless without his hammer, Thor has a vision of his wonderful father, Odin, who is perfect in every way, explains to his son that the hammer simply channels his powers, reminding him that he is the god of thunder. Odin then tells him that Asgard is not a place, but its people, and they can reestablish their society and culture anywhere. Now realizing his full abilities, Thor unleashes the biggest fucking lightning bolt on God's green earth, or Asgard, repelling Hela.
It's not a planet, for fuck's sake.
As Valkyrie and Heimdall attempt to hold off Hela's army, Loki unites with Korg and other escaping fighters and procures a ship which he uses to evacuate the Asgardians. Banner also transforms back into the Hulk to fight off Fenris the Wolf. Scourge, feeling guilt over having aligned himself with Hela, sacrifices himself to ensure the ship is able to escape. So,
That scene was
So
beautiful
much.
right there.
There's just so much going on here.
oh yeah.
I
Okay.
mean,
First, orgy ship.
first of all, it's not a planet. And they refer to it as a planet for so long. It's a fucking plane of existence. It's not round.
I mean,
no roundness.
isn't a planet technically a plane of existence?
But that's not a planet because it's not round. Listen, we want to talk about
Why
what
does
is a planet and what's not a planet.
why does a planet have to be
I
spherical?
mean, how many planets do we know? Are they all
8.
spherical?
8 that we know
Yeah,
of.
I mean, we know more, but like, are they all spherical or are they like fucking flat Earths?
God damn it! Now I have to fucking Google
God
shit.
damn you, flat Earth son of a bitch! It's a flat Earth.
Oh,
It's shown in this movie multiple times.
while all the planets in our solar system are nice and round, some are rounder than others. Mercury and Venus are the roundest of all. They are nearly perfect spheres like marbles, but some planets aren't quite so perfectly round.
Are they flat Earths?
Oh my god.
Because
Earth-
that's
Earth
what
is-
that planet
Yeah,
is.
Earth is
That
flat.
planet is 100% flat Earth.
Earth is flat.
I'm gonna stab you in the heart with 8,000 wands of destiny. Alright,
No,
so
no,
and like he keeps referring to it as a planet. I guess yes, but no, it's not.
no. But did they mention it? They don't mention it as a planet in the movie.
Oh, 1,000%.
To correct you, Basement, Asgard is one of the 9 realms.
Yeah, but I watched the movie. Thor refers to it as a planet at least twice.
Really? I didn't catch that.
Yes, rewatch it.
No.
Oh, finally, I feel like a nerd.
Anyway,
Welcome to my world.
It happens, okay? Suck my dick,
say-
everybody.
Uh,
I will say, Thor at that moment seeing Odin and Odin going, "What are you? God of hammers? No, you're the god of thunder."
I wouldn't be
It's
one to
just like-
fucking talk, Dad.
Yeah, why are you here? I thought you went out for cigarettes and never came back.
Right? It was just one of those moments that
That's great. You get those
every
tinglies
child
in
needs
your
from
ball
their
sack
parent.
or your ovaries, whatever the equivalent is.
It's that was a moment that every child needs from their parent to be reminded, you know what? You
Yeah.
are this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's I'm
Something
proud of you,
else
son.
doesn't
Kind of. Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
this.
it's a great moment. It
I-
was a great moment. I'm
I
not
did.
gonna lie.
I did love when Thor got his eye cut, and she's like, "Oh, now you're starting to look like Dad."
I'll also say, like, at some point in time, fucking Scourge's accent went away. Like, he started off fucking as Butcher, and he turned into an American.
Yeah, because he's Thor.
Also, like, she cut his eye. She didn't fucking suck his eye out of his skull. It's a
Yeah.
really weird, like, thing that happened there, but whatever.
You know, it's funny. The more I thought about it, I'm like, I can't take the time to think about this too much because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
I
just one of
don't
those
care.
things where it's like, this is not my hill to die on.
Yeah,
because
I'm
like,
definitely not dying on that hill, but I will die on the fact that I absolutely love when Bruce Banner's like, "This is who I am," and
Oh,
jumps
yeah.
out of the plane and just dies basically. That was so good.
It's the abrupt music stopping too, you know, like it's just like dun, dun, dun. You just hear, and then Fenris is like playing with it like it's dead.
Is it just me, or was anybody like going on a fucking roller coaster for that weird fucking Mickey creature? Like, I went on the biggest roller coaster of my life rewatching this. I'm like, oh, Mickey, he's cool. He's got blades and he looks like a fucking slug. Oh my god, did I go on a roller coaster? I forgot how this movie played out. I'm like, I literally, oh, the Bruce Banner fall is just great.
Yep.
No, Mickey.
Mickey.
Hulk fucking suplexes Fenris.
Oh my god. The fight between Fenris and Hulk was both epic and also there's one part that made me die laughing. It's when fucking you see Fenris like tooth go into Hulk's thigh and he's just fucking thrashing him around and you just hear like he's like drowning but he's the whole fucking thing just like had me dying. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is
I mean,
fucking
Tim
Marvel.
says Norse mythology. Fenrir, which is the actual
Or
fucking
Fenrir.
creature, but it's called Fenris in this movie.
Yeah.
It is.
Fangs have the ability to devour gods as well.
Yes.
So that makes sense
Yep.
for that. But I also have to pinpoint, when the fuck did Billy Butcher get infinite ammo?
He didn't.
I mean, this
He ran out of ammo.
he ran out of ammo way later than he should have. The guy was fucking he unloaded like 1,008 bullets.
He's clearly a Back for Blood fan. Clearly. And Alpha, we're just fucking around. It's not a matter of a planet. I mean, the reason I was calling it, or the reason I was somewhat calling it a planet, was just because of comparisons.
They called it a planet, even though it was a plane of existence.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So it's an airplane.
I think the girl in me came out with Hulk Banner turning into Hulk to fight the giant fluffy dog.
That was good.
The moment of
Puppy. The cutting of the eye thing, that's not my hill to die on, because like Baseman said, it's like he didn't really get his eye cut off. It was kind of like cut shut.
They just wanted to do it, so I'm like, okay.
I mean, I didn't give a shit.
I'm okay. Yeah, I really didn't. I was like, this obviously is not what equals what, but this movie's pretty fucking good, so I don't give a shit.
So I did love Scourge doing the sacrifice despite his unlimited ammo rounds temporarily. I think it was one of those, like, again, like another feel
Very
good,
Billy
like,
Butcher.
Yeah. another feel good moment there. Thor then unites with Valkyrie and Loki, knowing that Hela will soon be back, as she is only growing stronger from Asgard's power. Thor suddenly realizes that he cannot stop Ragnarok, but must instead bring it about to defeat Hela, and sends Loki down to the vaults to throw Surtur's skull into the eternal flame. Bold move, brother. By the way, whose fucking genius idea was it to put, hey, if you need this and these two things together, they'll create Ragnarok, so let's make sure that they're both placed in the same fucking area.
I can answer that question. Odin.
Yeah.
Fucking dick.
So, Loki does so and escapes, and it is also heavily implied that he takes a chance to steal the Tesseract based off of a quick glance he gives, which I will say this, despite the potential plot hole that could have caused, smart move to have that, again, just one simple little scene to help explain it. Just as Surtur is resurrected and starts laying waste to the kingdom, Hela mounts an offense, but is little use, as Surtur is too powerful and destroys her with his sword. Thor escapes with Loki, Hulk, Heimdall, Valkyrie, Korg, and the surviving civilians/prisoners just before Asgard is completely decimated. Also need to note that Hulk attacking Surtur, still fucking hilarious. Although Thor is upset about the destruction of his home, he knows it was necessary to prevent the extinction of his people. He then finally meets his destiny and takes the throne, which is the captain's chair on the bridge, where his first order is to return to Earth.
I love the opening line to that, because she sits there and goes, "You cannot possibly defeat me," and Thor's just like, "Yeah, I know I can't, but he can."
But he can.
And he just runs.
Yep. So when we're saying like Surtur's a bitch, Surtur ain't no bitch. Not anymore.
Yeah, well, now he's infinite flames.
Steroids. He got the 1-up mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
So, bold move, brother. I mean, fuck. What else is he gonna do? I think he made the right call.
He redeemed himself in some ways with that, but as we know, in the future, I mean, even at the end of this movie, we know he's not going to stay on that redemption path because he's Loki.
Well, what's interesting, right? What's interesting though is that, and obviously this is the whole idea of like hindsight and obviously knowing what's coming ahead. Every one of Thor's movies outside of the Avengers, or at least the first two, the last two do focus this on a little bit, is Thor's identity crisis. He's trying to figure out what his role is and where he is in the world. And no pun intended, they're really hammering it in the latest Thor and Love and Thunder trailer, movie, which is implied in the trailers. But it made me realize that even more when he's like, he's desperate. He's trying to figure all this shit out. And his father of the year, Odin, comes in and says, like, you're not the god of hammers, you're the god of thunder. And kind of just and also Asgard was never a place. It was our people. We can do, Asgard could be anywhere. Hint, hint. Oh, it'd be great if you told me here while you were alive, Dad. I also did love, like I said, loved when Hulk attacked Surtur. Hulk, you moron, stop for once in your life. Don't smash. But giant monster. Oh, and it just fucking, I forgot about his leaping abilities for a second. Like, he just fucking grabs him and just fucking boing.
The leaping ability fucking made me laugh. Because, like, he timed that shit perfectly to be like boing, and like when he entered the spaceship with them, like holy fucking
He
Christ.
technically leaped into space.
Yeah, he's 1000% on point.
Yep.
I will say, like, fucking Mike ruined me.
Oh, he's dead.
Fuck.
He's dead.
No,
Oh, no, he's
yeah.
alive.
No, you don't get it. I have like 5 talking points about this motherfucker. Like, no, Mike. And then the next thing is Hulk fucking suplexes Fenris.
Oh, so good. It was so good.
And then I got
Because that's what you want from Hulk.
I said, never mind. Mike lived and he is a caterpillar.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is for tight fitting pants, they sure stayed on big ass Hulk.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Somehow. And then the next thing is, no, Mike's dead.
But I love how it gets to that point. It's like I kind of stepped on him while we were fighting, and now he's kind of dead.
And the next thing
I
is,
stepped on the
fuck you,
bridge.
Mike.
Oh, wait, no, guys, he's alive.
Fuck you, Mike. My question for this whole movie, though, and this is one I think, would you have rather seen more growth for Hulk and eliminated Valkyrie? Or would you have kept this the way it is?
I thought you were going to say what I would have more Mike time. I would have kept it the way it is. Because you know how you said, and I agree.
When I say more growth with Hulk, I feel like more growth with Banner.
Well, I was
Like the Hulk time is
yeah.
fine, but like the Banner time is kind of like smoothed over like peanut butter.
What are you gonna do with him in
And-
space?
Well, I mean, he's struggling with like the next time I become Hulk, I'm going to fucking lose myself for years. That's a big fucking thing.
No, I know, but
The perfect place for him because then he can't hurt anybody.
I don't know. I feel like
I feel like the whole Banner Hulk like conundrum is like treated like
you know what?
fodder in this movie,
you know-
which I like. They touch on it, which is great, but it's like holy fucking Christ, man!
You do
That's
make
a big ask.
you do make a point though. Like in theory, if you removed Valkyrie, it wouldn't change anything.
I mean, she if you remove Valkyrie from the MCU, it wouldn't do anything. I mean, obviously we know that they want representation, and that's not only why she's there; she's a character as well.
Yep.
And I mean, she's not a bad character; she's a pretty good character. It's just like I feel like the sacrifice is being made for a buddy cop to be a triple cop. I mean, you can even remove Loki in favor of giving Hulk more scenes,
Well,
but Loki doesn't really like. Loki's always part of somebody else's scene. Where
which is by design.
I feel like
though.
there's a lot of, especially towards the end of this movie, there's a lot of Valkyrie scenes.
So that's a tough one. I personally would have still kept it the way it was. But that's not fair because we know what's coming. You know what I mean? I'm trying to like be like
You're trying to keep it to just.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of. They know what's coming too, because they're show creators, movie creators. They fucking map this out. They know what's coming.
yeah,
They
that's a tough call.
sacrifice Hulk growth for Valkyrie.
Because really, at the end of the day, I feel like at this point in time in the MCU timeline, right? how much more? I mean, really, you could, but how much more can you really get out of Hulk?
The thing is, I don't think you have to sacrifice Valkyrie for Hulk. I think you have to sacrifice part of Valkyrie for Hulk in the timeline of this movie, because this should be, in my opinion, a Thor Hulk movie, not a Thor Valkyrie movie. And this is my worry with Marvel movies, where they use an existing product to like build up a non-existing product.
Yep.
I know it makes sense. I know it's what you should do if you want to continue things and you want to move in different directions. But I mean, this was my worry with Thor: Love and Thunder, and the reason I said at the beginning that I feel a bit better about Thor and Love and Thunder is the way that Taika Watiti treated this movie. Where yes, he gave time for Valkyrie to become a character, he didn't sacrifice the main character's time.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, what about you, Bobbit or Heather? What do you guys think of? Do you think keep it the way it is, or what Basement alluded to? You said sacrifice more time for Valkyrie to give more time
Valkyrie
for.
could still be a character, but maybe not get. I mean, she has probably the second most runtime. Maybe her and Loki are like tied for that.
Possibly.
You go
I mean,
first.
outside, if you take Thor away, I think she has the most runtime as another singular character on screen. Well, her and Jeff Goldblum's.
I can't wait.
You can't take him away.
You not fucking take him away.
Oh God, no! I'd take him away in my bedroom.
You first, Bobbit.
I see what you're saying, Basement, with the whole Hulk thing. I would have kept it the same just because of the fact that we did get more Hulk exposition as far as when you get further into the movies, especially the next one. And Valkyrie, she didn't really have like Valkyrie was a new character you had
She's a
to
non-entity moving forward.
establish
Let's be
right
real.
there because
I mean, I feel
basically
like moving forward, Valkyrie has nothing to do with anything.
Well, there's something else I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent later on about her, which we'll get to.
We do see her again.
I mean, it's not that we don't see her again. It's just like you're literally taking away from one of the Avengers to give to one of the side characters for the only thing I can think of representation.
I would change it just slightly. I mean, we didn't need the scene with her in the bar.
with her in the
That could
bar.
have been taken
Oh,
out
when
and
Thor figures it out, yeah.
yeah, given that more to Hulk. But I really don't see much else being changed because we know, even at the first when this movie first came out, we knew there was going to be a shit ton more that Marvel was going to do, and that Hulk was more than likely going to be part of it anyway.
Mhm.
So with the tiny bits and pieces of the foreshadowing with Hulk, being able to figure things out a bit more and seeing that kind of mind meld between the Banner and Hulk brain there, and then seeing him want to stay on a planet where he is revered as somebody to be a champion and somebody to be loved rather than feared, but then changing his mind because he wants to help his friend. Those little bits of foreshadowing for the Hulk and that little bit of growth, I think, is all we really needed for the
Good point.
Hulk.
I mean, the one thing like that I was hung up on is him worried about turning back into the Hulk because of the implications is a huge fucking thing for that character. After spending 2 years as the Hulk and basically not being in control, not being alive for 2 years, is something huge that kind of gets like lambasted in this movie. This is why I brought this point up. I mean, the movie is good regardless,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason I bring it up is because we've obviously seen where this goes.
Yep.
And I mean, one character is way more important than the other. To this point, I do feel like Valkyrie will have a decent role in the next Thor movie, but it's just, yeah, I feel like they might have spent 5 minutes too much with that character.
So I get where you're coming from, and you know what? This is another thing that I'm sure, if I can remember, I will bring up next week when we cover Infinity War. But there is another deleted scene that did not make the movie that would have seen more of a struggle between. There was supposedly like a very long scene that involved Hulk and Banner fighting in like Banner's subconscious, and you can find it on YouTube. It's not
can't involve that.
What?
We can't involve that because it's not canon.
But my point is that maybe that's why
I'm not watching AEW Dark, okay?
But it would showcase how he became Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
It was basically a connect the dots thing where it was supposed to connect the in between. It takes place during the fight at the end, where he's like, we need to figure it out. We need to figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
how to work.
Infinity War, I can tell you right now, I'd sacrifice 15 minutes of that movie for that to happen.
And
sure.
then, so I think, and again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like he goes, we got to figure it out and figure it out. Hulk smart, yeah, Hulk like Banner, Banner like Hulk, and then all of a sudden it's supposed to cut to like it's Banner and he's like Smart Hulk and he's like holding up like he's like blocking a blow.
The reason you have 10,000 movies,
and he goes, we
so you
figured
can
it out.
fucking turn characters that haven't had the development into characters that have gotten the development. This is why you have 10,000 movies.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, hey, we have this character that's fully developed, let's make a movie on them and develop them more.
So I'm still waiting for my Mickey spinoff.
I mean, no matter what, though, I can't discredit this movie.
I mean,
for me, I went into it knowing what it's just. I know what it was, and it is what it was. It didn't try to pretend like it was some sort of fucking like deep shit before becoming Iron Man quips.
Right.
Which I was extremely thankful for did not happen.
Yeah. It identified itself literally in the first 3 minutes of the movie.
So the last tidbits I'll just say here is, of course, we have a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene. And let me just say right now, I loved the post-credit scene a lot more than I loved the mid-credit scene. Not that I hated the mid-credit scene, but I'll get to that in a second. The mid-credit scene is the exact reason why we're covering this movie at this point in time. Loki worries over Thor's decision to return to Earth, knowing he won't be very welcome there, since on his last video he tried to take over the planet. Thor assures his brother that he feels everything will be fine, just as a somewhat familiar, menacing ship dwarfs their own as it appears through the window that will later confirm is none other than Thanos' ship. In the post-credit scene, we see the Grand Master, who had been chasing Thor, crashing on the garbage planet where he's confronted by the scavengers, who are a bunch of former slaves who have started a rebellion and revolution. He congratulates them on their revolt. Yay us! And he goes,
you needed me.
He goes, and he agrees to call it a tie. I cannot stress how much this might be my favorite post-credit scene in all of the MCU, of just how
Jeff Goldblum can just fucking
yay us.
Get it, bro.
And you need someone to overthrow. So I'm gonna give myself a little pat on the back there. A little pat on the back. Fucking love every second of that. That legitimately might be my favorite post-credit scene in the MCU.
Jeff Goldblum is he's one of the standouts to this fucking movie, to be honest. Like, he's just so perfectly casted, and they just been like, just be yourself.
There was a press press release they did where they had a bunch of different stars, and Robert Downey Jr. is with Jeff Goldblum, and they were talking about like the different movies. And before Jeff Goldblum even said a word, Robert Downey Jr. cuts him off and goes, "You, sir, are our national treasure."
I 100% agreed. The guy is fucking just.
Love
I
it.
don't
So
think he's an
charismatic.
actor. He's a personality,
What-
and his personality is just like, man, you could be a cult leader
That's what I
and do
said.
terrible things, or just be like, love and peace, bro.
I said to Heather, I said, I don't think he was given much of a script. I think he was just
No.
like, oh, he's acting. No, that's him. That's him. But he's a wonderful human being. But
You want
anyway,
to go to Asgard, to Ass Place?
yeah.
He's crazy.
Point. TMZ has paparazzi following him just about 24/7. He hits on
Ugh.
every woman he comes across, and he gets a phone number every single time.
I mean, if I was him, I'd be fucking rounding up numbers left, right, and center. The guy is just like, he's basically sexuality personified.
But I don't want to keep this too much of a love fest on our amazing
I
Jeff
beg.
Goldblum. I mean, we'll do a Jeff Goldblum roundtable. Yes, yes, yes.
I want to lay on his chest.
Anyway, Thor
Find it.
Ragnarok.
Reach out to him and say, "Listen, we're all huge super fans. Do you want to come sit on with a Marvel
Mhm.
roundtable for us one night?"
Yes.
You know?
Mhm.
Can we just get
I
like
didn't
a
know
quick?
what was happening.
Don't know what this goat that's horny is all about, but it sounds intriguing. Yes,
He
yes.
has like 17,
Yep.
maybe 18, 19 wives.
Yeah, right. But Thor Ragnarok. So that wraps up the movie. I'm gonna actually start with Bobbit on this one first because I don't want to feel like I'm not having Bobbit involved in this one. I want to make sure I get his feedback on it. So, Bobbit, overall thoughts on Thor Ragnarok? What would you rate the movie out of 10? Give us the rundown.
Okay. Where to start? First of all, fantastic movie. Loved every minute of it. Jeff Goldblum. I mean, what can you say that's not been said about the man? He's just fucking amazing. And he was even amazing in that Fly remake, which was weird. But
Oh, yeah.
Most disturbing movie ever made since Human Centipede. Yes.
Yep.
yeah. Uh, but I honestly give this an 8 out of 10. I had a blast throughout the whole movie. Yeah, there was some parts that was a little, but it's just, if you haven't seen it, please, for the love of God, go watch it on Disney Plus. It's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good. 8 out of 10. Good. Yes. See, the wonderful tattooed mama. What did you think of Thor Ragnarok?
As I said, Thor is my favorite character in this whole fucking franchise. I know it does not have anything to do with how he looks, although yes, I would love to have that at least one night.
Me too.
I think they always. I loved Dark World when it first came out. All right, I was one of those that was all on that hype train. I adored that movie. I loved it. I love this movie just as much. Um, and frankly, I think Thor is the most well done character in all of the MCU.
Mm.
So with that, there's certain things with this movie that were just kind of like this could be a little better. I mean, the CGI, as Baseman pointed out, you're Marvel, you have millions upon millions of dollars, and yet you can't do proper CGI
Right.
in an era where CGI is
Or just not do CGI
right.
for things that don't need it.
Nah, it's not fun.
Because yeah.
You had George Lucas doing third scale practical effects, blowing up X-wings with firecrackers. I mean,
But
so
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
you make it work with the budget that you have for every single one of these fucking movies. Again, the colors of this movie and the fact that certain parts of it were affected by what was going on. The colors were affected by what was going on, and who was the lead of that scene was just genius.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for somebody like me who just recently found out I have more color collecting cones in my eyes than normal people.
Same girl. I don't know. That's true. I'm just lying.
Yeah, it's just having to being
Me
able to
too,
see
bro.
that difference and having it correlate with what was going on in the movie at the time as well is just like fucking brilliance. So with that, out of 10, I will give this a 7.5, 8 out of 10.
Nice. All
Ooh,
right.
that's two numbers.
So, Basement, your copious notes are on the floor.
Well, I'm done with my notes, but okay. So I
Well
mean, the
said.
reason I brought the the reason I brought up the whole Hulk growth versus Valkyrie thing, I don't know, and we'll never know if it would make it a better movie. That being said, the movie we got is good. It reminds me a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies,
Yeah.
obviously, and I feel like them leaning on Chris Hemsworth to like kind of follow through with like the comedic aspect of it is great. Like I think that they took risks with this movie, but
Oh,
it
they
paid off. And not just like the casting, everybody in this movie, because apparently like the second Thor movie is like, oh, the director was like, I'm not down for this because they're
Right.
changing everything.
Yep.
They just seem to be like, do
Fuck
what
it.
you want. Yeah, and I mean it worked out. It did. Are there things that would change? Yes, but for the betterment of the movie, God knows if that would be true. And that's a good thing to say about something.
Mm-hmm.
I when I first watched this, I liked it. The second time, I liked it. It's just not. I'm not able to dislike this movie.
It's illegal. It's illegal for you to dislike this movie.
I'm gonna probably sit at a. If I have to compare it to every movie ever, ooh, that's not good. I won't do that. If I have to compare it to all other Marvel movies, what was the highest I gave? 8?
I think
Yes.
so, yeah.
7.5, 8. I'm with Heather.
All right. I
Oh, movie.
there is a lot for me to like about this. A lot. And it's not going to be any much different than what you've already heard from either most critics of the movie or most people who have opinions about it, or the wonderful esteemed people and friends that I have here on the panel. There is so much to enjoy about this, and it's such a divergence from the second movie. It's refreshing, it's colorful, the humor is well balanced. It's not an Ant-Man situation where it's like it's so every second. It's natural. The acting's on top. You have a pretty damn. I mean, besides Tessa Thompson, I understand because I hated Men in Black.
Such a terrible movie.
Really have no complaints about like the actors and actresses. The casting's great. Kate is fucking Hela. I mean, there's really not much for me to nitpick or go after as far as things that I didn't enjoy about it. I can see Basement's point completely about the Hulk thing, and it's tricky because I think that
We'll never know.
bigger pit this is maybe going off on a tangent, but bigger picture, I don't think Marvel Studios sees anything big with Hulk from maybe like a marketing perspective other than doing outside of the Avengers / being associated with other, you know what I mean? Like not like a solo thing.
But do you think in this moment Hulk needed it more than Valkyrie?
This is going to be a really cop-out answer, so I apologize. It sounds like bullshit. Right now, yes. but I don't know what's going to happen in Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's not a cop out. I'm with you 100% on that.
As everything stands right now at the time of this episode that we're doing this, having not seen or know what happens to her in Thor: Love and Thunder, yes, I agree with you, because it would have meant more for the Valkyrie character to have come back, or it did seem like they shoehorned her in.
I got a question. You know how we have like serious Marvel heroes and non-serious? Where's our non-serious Marvel woman?
Valkyrie.
What the fuck? The actress is gonna be. Yeah, I mean, she played this as non-serious as she could,
Yeah,
but she's gonna be serious as fuck moving forward. I can almost guarantee it.
I don't know about that. Well, we have to see how we'll have to see how Thor: Love and Thunder goes.
I mean,
but that's
where's our non-serious Marvel woman?
let's see.
Yeah, I can find them.
Hold on. Give me a minute.
Yeah, keep looking. Keep looking.
Hold on. Give me a moment.
Keep looking, baby.
It's Black Widow.
No, it's not. She's dead.
That's why. No, I get your point. I think honestly,
They just keep
it would
making
be her. Valkyrie would be the most non-serious one out of them all that I can think of
They just keep making like
right now.
unlikable female heroes for some reason.
Who knows? Jane might be.
I have a
You've seen
feeling.
the trailers. She does seem like she's gonna be not that serious.
I hope so. Please,
We'll have to
God.
see. But regardless of all that, I still am on the same boat with you guys. Love it. I still give it a 7.5 out of 10.
I think-
The eight is, I mean, I could very easily make it an 8. I don't know why. It's not that it's not that I don't think it deserves it. It doesn't quite hit that high of like, this is
It's just
amazing.
A very. Okay, it's gonna sound bad when I say it. It's a very good average movie.
The other part of it is that it has obviously the advantage of a lot of build, not just in terms of, with the exception of
I mean, they do everything right. It's just like, it hurts me to give it a 7.5. It hurts me kind of.
I know how you're feeling. I know how you're feeling.
Because this is a movie that shouldn't be what it is, and they masterfully pull it off.
Especially
when I
where
say
it's
it hurts
placed,
me, is
considering where it's
because
coming up.
I mean, if I'm going to compare it to other Marvel movies, there's
Yeah.
only a few for me above it. So
Right. It's definitely. I would say.
just because I've seen everything else, I kind of have to land in 7.5, even though my soul wants it to be an 8.
This is definitely top 10. There's no question about that.
Oh, for sure.
Which we might do a separate bonus. Who knows? If people want to hear a bonus,
You know what we
episode
should
of
do? We should do the tier rankings that they do on YouTube.
I was
for all
just
the
thinking
movies.
about that when we get done with phase 3. I was just thinking about that. Heather looks so excited to do this.
It'd be so hard.
We're gonna have to rewatch everything. So,
Not gonna happen.
I mean, you never say never. Anyway, I think that's gonna do it. I think we hit everything. I think we hit everything with Thor Ragnarok. Want to thank everybody for joining me here on the Roundtable, Bobbit, Basement, and Heather. I want to thank everybody who's listening to us live here on YouTube.com/HornyGoat and listening to us on your favorite podcasting platforms over, of course, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else. Oh, we're also now on Amazon Music. So no shit. If you ask your Alexa to play our stuff, you will listen to us. Have fun with that. I really can't wait to see, like, Alexa, play Horny Goat. I can't wait to see what that's going to be. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Tim, Alpha, Jurgen, Federico, I believe Cody came in earlier. Yep. Thank you all for tuning in the chat here. Thumbs up, 87% out of the 8 votes for Ragnarok. As far as their thoughts go, guys and gals here on the chat or in the poll, or excuse me, on the roundtable, any last minute thoughts before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I think we're ready to call it a night.
I mean, I will say for this movie, I loved everything more than the way the movie ended.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
say the
Yep.
way the
Yeah.
movie ended, it was just like, yeah, they were
Yeah.
done. They're
Right.
done.
Yep.
And so I'm like, it's like, oh, the big bad, we have to face her. We can't beat her. Here's a fucking fire giant. Like, yeah.
Cheat code. Cheat code. It's cheat code.
I mean,
It's Game Shark.
it's another whiff from Marvel for the big bad.
But no, I get what you're saying. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this week's edition of the Marvel Roundtable. Join us next week for a doozy. Next week I believe we'll be joined by the wonderful Frank once again from the Harsh Truth podcast. So looking forward to having Frank back on, as once again it's time for Earth's mightiest heroes to reunite. Sort of. From the division of Civil War building up almost over 10 years and spanning over multiple movies, we finally get the movie that starts the beginning of the end as Thanos finally attempts to collect all 6 Infinity Stones, and we have to see how Earth's mightiest heroes fare and how hard they fall as we tackle the monster that is Avengers: Infinity War.